Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Why, yes, I did have a great holiday, more or less. It's a bit more subdued than usual. So we're going to do a little bit of a follow-up from last week's show. I did not do one on Wednesday, although I did do Masculine Geek. I don't know why this turned into a series, but I guess we're on a series now, so you guys are along for the ride. I see all you guys in the chat. Yay. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about, is hypergamy a dead-end street? Is it a straitjacket? Are you never going to score? Hey, man, let me tell you something. Let me give you a bit of information. That's enough of that. Well, happy holidays, happy whatever days. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It'll be by the time next time I do the show, it'll be 2021. This is technically, well, I don't know. I might do a show. If I do a show on Wednesday, you guys are gonna have to tell me what you want to do because I don't have anything scheduled, and I will tell you why I don't have anything scheduled. Usually, I plan my shows well in advance. Also, let me know, is the audio okay? Was the music okay? Was everything fine? I need to get some feedback from you guys because last week it was a little squirrely. I think it was because I hit the stereo audio and it might have. Oh, thank you, Sam. Sambata is in the chat and on my sidebar right now. Good. He says it's perfect. Yay. What is it? StreamYard was monkeying around with the audio settings, and I don't know why it was even an option, but I think I had echo cancellation on and stereo audio, which conflict with each other. So that's probably why I thought, oh, stereo audio. Then it said in the description, for musicians and playing music. Oh, okay, I'll put it on. Bad idea. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to jump right in here in just a minute. I realize I came to some, I did some soul searching this week. I didn't really, but I was thinking about a few things, and I'm looking, sort of going through my analytics and looking at my YouTube stats and everything else, and I do some pretty long ass shows, and you guys are keenly aware of that. I have a clips channel that is sort of been waiting in the wings. That's going to be sort of, they'll be longer than 10 minutes, maybe anywhere from like 10 to 15 minute clips of these actual live streams. And so I'm planning to launch that in 2021. I've already got, the channel's already there. It's just unlisted right now. You can't find it. And so that's going to be coming up. That's going to be something that's going to be new in the new year. But the big announcement today is book 4 will be releasing within the next week, maybe week and a half-ish. Certainly the first week of January, by the first week of January. So all things going perfectly. I've got the ebook out. I'm having it professionally formatted because I want, I put a lot of time and a lot of energy into book 4. It is The Rational Male Religion. It is the 4th book in the series. It is it's already uploaded on Amazon. You just can't get it yet. And I'm waiting for the final galley prints to, I guess you call them galley prints. I'm waiting for the final book print to come back here as soon as I have a look at it. The reason I have to, I got to be very particular about this cover is, and if you are a Patreon subscriber, you'll know why I'm talking about this. The cover of the book is darker. It's black. So I have to be real careful about how the type and the print sets on it, because I wanted to do something very specific with this. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, you can go see the cover of the book right now. I'm sure somebody is going to end up copying it and putting it on Twitter or something like that at some point. But for right now, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you have a nice little Christmas present in your inbox right now. And then I also give some details about the book, which I guess it's no secret. I can give you those details right now. The book is actually is just at 400 pages. So it's sizable. It's bigger than book 3, which was Positive Masculinity, which came out to about 367 pages. This book is 3 years in the making. As soon as you have to remember, I published Positive Masculinity in July of 2017. And I had already had plans to do this particular book, the religion book, and I wanted to make sure that it was something that is the difficulty, I should say, that I ran into in putting this thing out was doing the research for it and being as accurate and as concise as I possibly could. It is certainly the best sourced book that I've ever done. There is a resources page, actually several pages at the end of the book where I'm footnoting things. And so people always complain, he doesn't cite sources. I won't believe it. No. And it's like, well, okay, well, not with this book. Definitely not with this book. So it's about 3 years in the making. Technically, I started it after I well, I shouldn't even say that. Usually, it's funny is people ask me what's your process, Rollo, being an author, and how do you go? I'm like, I'm still figuring that out. Actually, this is only book 4 for me. I'm not like James Patterson or Baldacci or whoever's the hot writer is right now. I know Godsod has his book out right now, which is The Parasitic Mind, which I think is fantastic. I'm about a third of the way through it right now, and I'm just jonesing to see what I don't know. Maybe Godsod doesn't know me from Adam, but I would love for him to read book 4 and then maybe pick his brain about some things to see what he thinks I got right and what he thinks I got wrong. But it is certainly the biggest project I have done as a writer and as an author. But when I have a habit of this is when I do one book, even the first book, when I did the very first book, I ended up considering what I was going to do for a second book. And honestly, when I first set out to do the book 1, I didn't think I'd write any other books except for that one. And then I had too many people asking me about other questions, and they gave me book ideas. So religion has been something that I have wanted to incorporate, but I wanted to at least cover from a red pill aware perspective for quite some time, really since day one. And I mentioned that in the introduction, the foreword of this book, because I don't know if any of you are familiar with the blogger Dalrock, but Dalrock and I have been sort of blog friends for over, a decade now, right? 10 years. And, he decided, and it was just, a stab in the heart too, because I think it was January or February of 2020, he decided he was going to stop blogging, and he held to that. He has not blogged since, and he has not really done much else. It took me and a few other guys to convince him to leave the blog up. He was actually going to just sort of drop the blog or erase it or disconnect it. I don't know. And everybody said, no, you got to leave this up as an archive. And I was glad he did, because when we were talking, I told him, I said, man, I need to source some of your material, man. I need to use some of this. So for reference for what I'm writing about. And when I originally started out writing book 4, I wanted to do it as sort of a co-authorship. I really wanted him to be the co-author, but Dalrock doesn't do that. Dalrock is just Dalrock. I don't know who he is. I don't know what his real name is. So don't bother asking me. And as close as I have been, I would say arguably I'm probably as close to him as anybody else in sort of the manosphere, the blogosphere, whatever you want to call it. And I think that he's just a really private guy. I don't know. And I can understand, because when you get doxxed or when people start, running you up the flagpole for things that you didn't say or things that you didn't do or whatever, maybe he doesn't want to be a part of that. Maybe he just has a job that he doesn't want to get canceled from. I don't know. Maybe he just wants to be private. How's that? But whatever. People ask me about Dalrock like I got some sort of like direct, connection into his brain or something, and I don't. I have bounced ideas off of him, like I said, for about 10 years now. And he's not the only one. Rabbi Kaba, Abu American. I've got a list of, you'll see him in the acknowledgments as well, the people who I sort of pick their brains as well as I have to have conversations about these things because I'm in no way like a theologian. People are going to, I think this book is really going to kick a lot of people in the nuts. If I did my job right, it's going to kick a lot of people in the nuts. And not just, again, it's not like a takedown of religion. It's not a build up of religion. It's just a exploration of it from evolutionary perspective too, but like also from a red pill aware perspective. Let's just say that. So what did you say here? Mariner says, Freud claims that women are morally underdeveloped compared to men. Do you think that women can act morally, i.e. cheating? I think they can. We did a very long time ago, I want to say it was on Rule Zero. I hope it was on Rule Zero. I did an episode with the guys where we talked about, do women have moral agency? And that's interesting. You should ask that because I considered that in book 4 as well, which kind of leads us into today's topic. Because I think that when we consider women's nature, or we consider men's nature, human nature, just in general. If you've read Robert Greene's book, The Laws of Human Nature, I think that one of the reasons why books like that rub people the wrong way is it gives people an excuse. It gives them. I think that especially if you're a moralist, or if you're like sort of this one of the what I quote in the book, if you're a believer, right? If you're a guy who's mindset is really rooted in ethics and morality, and that's the way you approach debate. If that's the way that you approach understanding like things that challenge your beliefs, it's really tough to accept that maybe there are like biological influences that lead us to make decisions that are either good or bad decisions. And from that perspective, it's usually guys who want to frame the conversation, the debate, whatever it is, in terms of, was this right or was this wrong? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. I talked about this in the Hypergamy show. I've done several, as you might guess, episodes on hypergamy. I almost hate using the word hypergamy in the title, but that's what people know me for, and I don't care. I think that hypergamy and women's mating strategy, as well as men's mating strategy. I wish there was a snappy word for men's mating strategy. It's just like men are dogs. maybe that needs to be men's mating strategy. Unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, right? Women tend to be more K-selected. Men tend to be more R-selected. And to my knowledge, I don't know of too many people, whether they are like academics or research scientists or whatever, who make that distinction very often. Maybe there are, and I'm just not aware of them. But when you look at mating strategies, when you look at men's mating strategies and you look at women's mating strategies, men's mating strategies left to our own devices with no inhibition and no filters and no limitations, men will opt for unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. And that's the way we are. That's how we're built. That's how we evolved. And that's efficiency. We have to be efficient because we have to hit it and quit it, ejaculate and evacuate. That was our biological imperative, and it was what kept us alive for a long time, which is why men's sexual nature is what it is and women's sexual nature is what it is. And that's why our mating strategies are what they are. So it behooves women to be promiscuous, yes, but it also behooves women to filter and to be selective and to look for quality as opposed to quantity, whereas men, it's more about quantity before quality. I'm not saying that either one of those, of quality or quantity, isn't important to the other. I'm just saying that we prioritize them differently based on our sort of gendered sexual natures. And I mean sex as in men and women. So, but that rubs a lot of guys the wrong way. And maybe that's a Freudian slip, right? But it rubs them the wrong way because it sounds like the devil made me do it, right? It's like, oh, it wasn't me. Sorry, I didn't do anything. It was just my selfish gene. And I remember when this was back in the early 2000s when the pickup artist community of the time, like I don't know, call it the PUA, the seduction community of the time, were doing their reads through The Selfish Gene, which is a book. I want to say it's Dawkins, but it might or it might not be. But Selfish Gene, and then what is the Red Queen by Matt Ridley, which by the way, if I really, maybe I'll do this on Wednesday. I'll do the book review. Should I do that? Maybe I'll do the book review one. I'll give you guys some book suggestions on Wednesday, and I'll explain to you why I think each one of these is something that ought to be in your reading list if you haven't already read it already. But one of those books is definitely going to be The Red Queen by Matt Ridley. And in those books, it breaks down things, and in, I want to say in a very neutral way, but in a evolutionary psychology way, about, men and women's sexual natures, our mating strategies, and those things. Because it was back then, I would say probably like in the mid 90s up to where we're at now. It used to be that, evolutionary psychology was just sort of this, that's department over there in the psychology department. It wasn't exactly something like we consider today. A lot of people want to throw rocks at Evo Psych right now, particularly in the manosphere, or people who are critics of the manosphere. And it's like, well, if we can poison the well, then it just disqualifies all these things that I'm uncomfortable with. And one of those things that people are uncomfortable with is personal responsibility. And when the seduction community was getting really into Selfish Gene and Red Queen back in early to mid 2000s, there was a pushback by feminists and by women who were critical of that community at that time, saying that because of this information and because the guys, because men had access to it and they were reading it and they were adjusting their lifestyles and their understanding of women's nature, using that as a basis, it was controversial because it wasn't the devil made me do it anymore. It's my selfish gene made me do it. So when a guy cheats on his girlfriend or a woman cheats on a guy, of course, it never works the other way around today, right? But when they were worried, the concern was, here's the seduction community, and they're trying to justify their actions of, spinning plates, of being non-exclusive, of basically trying to get laid. That's really what early PUAs wanted to do and still do. And I don't see why anybody wants to say we don't want to get laid. We do. Sex is a big deal, and that's what they were using it for. And the rationale at that time was, this is just the way I am, right? I am, this is the way evolution made me, or God made me, or whatever you want to, whoever made me. But I want to hit it and quit it, and it's my selfish gene, and it's in my biological evolutionary best interest that I obey Royce used to say this, obey my biological overlord. And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because it seemed like a license to sin. It seemed like a license to go and cheat on your girlfriend, or to be polygamous, let's just say. And that's wrong. But nobody could tell you why. Nobody could actually look at things from an objective perspective back then because they were very invested in that. So it wasn't the devil made me do it anymore. It was my selfish gene makes me do these things. Now, when we have conversations about, do women have agency? Do women have moral agency? Are they just like the most grown-up teenager in the house kind of thing? I think that women like to fall back on that. They fall back on a couple of things. When I did an essay called Women Behaving Badly. I think I might have put it in one of the books. It might be in book 3. But in Women Behaving Badly, it's well, women do this, or women cheat more, or they cheat as much now. I was looking at some statistics about how infidelity has risen amongst women over the course of the last 10 or 15 years as a result of the internet, which of course is why I did the thumbnail today. And it's facilitated, it's easier. So when we look at women on OnlyFans, when we look at women on dating sites, on Tinder, now it's like, oh, we all want to be poly, and we want to have now poly seems like a good idea for women, because really a polygamy works in women's favor if it is on their terms. So when it's a patriarchal situation, polygamy works in favor of the guy. but it also works in favor of the women because he's the highest. Like women would rather share a dominant, successful alpha than they would be saddled to a faithful beta. Well, women didn't have those options prior to, well, certainly prior to the internet, but certainly prior to the sexual revolution. So we didn't have these conversations about, oh, do women have moral agency before the sexual revolution? Because today, to say that women they want their cake and they want to eat it too. They want to have it both ways. So when a woman does something that is unethical or immoral, or she breaks her marriage vows, or she does something that we would otherwise in any other era call it sin or call it infidelity or sexual immorality or whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't care what you want to call it. Just basically she's cheating on you. We want to make that, when women do it, we want to make it a plus. We want to make it empowering, transformational, right? We want it to be the big, like, well, you know, women have always been. It's part of restitution and retribution when it comes to feminism. It's the restitution part. Well, men have always been like this. Now women can be too. It's like what's good for the goose is good for the gander, which of course finds its root in old order thinking, which is blank slate equalism. Well, men have been doing it for all these years. Now it's our turn. So we can excuse it that way, but is it immoral or is it not? I don't know. That's on you because and you'll find out in book 4, morality is something that people want to make absolute, but I think that it is much more subjective to the person. And the more we make it subjective, the more we sort of take the responsibility away from women. We look for two reasons. When women get out of bad behavior, it's usually because they were the victim, or it's because it's restitution. So when a woman does what was it? Somebody sent me. Damn it! I should have had this ready. Someone sent me, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and this happened in the UK. Some woman who had. What is it? She was drunk driving and she got out, just walked out the door. Like she got off free because, and I think she crashed the car or something like that, but she basically drunk driving. Like any guy that would have done that, the guy would have been spending some time in prison for what she had done. And it was notable because it was a female judge letting go of a woman, and one of the reasons why she did was because the drunk driver woman said that she was in an abusive relationship and she was having a rough day, and then one thing led to another, and she, tossed back a bottle of wine. I think it was a full bottle of wine, and went driving and wrapped the car around a telephone pole or crashed a car or something like that, but got away. And then this is no revelation, certainly not to my readers or my followers, but there's a separate standard of justice for women in the world, and not just the United States. Okay, maybe it might be a little different in some cultures and in some countries, but in westernized, gynocentric countries that are having this exported to them, if they don't already have it, there's a separate. In fact, I would say, you know what? I wouldn't even go that far. I think by order of degree, certainly in gynocentric, social orders and cultures and stuff, there's definitely a separate standard of justice for women. And when I say this, I mean this in the terms that the same crime that a woman could commit, a man could commit it, and he would get the book thrown at him. He would be spending like years in jail, whereas a woman might have her sentence commuted, or she might just walk out of the courthouse, just like this one did. And I realize that's real sensational, and like, oh my gosh, it gets your indignation, it gets our angst levels right. I can't believe there's a separate standard of justice, and it is true pretty much throughout any kind of sort of civilized culture right now. And people say, well, what about Islam? What about Saudi Arabia? What about Iran? What about these countries? And I would say that certainly not as pronounced as thanks for that. As pronounced as Western cultures, but we still make concessions for women. Whether it's, and I'm not saying that they're sinless and they're going to get off scot-free, but I'm saying that we will make concessions for women because they are women. And that's because we, as men, evolved an innate natural protector dynamic over women. We want to protect them because we want to protect the incubators of the next generation, more or less. But we have this innate protector instinct in us. And that translates into a lot of different ways. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to put we have an active shooter. I'm going to go put my body in front of this woman I don't know, and I'm going to take a bullet for her. It's not just that. It's also our laws. It's also our societies. It's also us making concessions and having like tolerating behavior from women that we would never tolerate from men. And but as a result of that, in a social sense, in a civilized sense, there is a separate standard of justice for women. It's well studied. I mean, it is over the top studied that women get lesser sentences, if they get sentences at all, for the same crimes that would end his life. And I mean that in the sense like he would go to jail, he'd go to prison for the rest of his life. He would be labeled a sex offender. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that there is this, endemic of women teachers, female teachers, all between the ages of right about like 24 to about 31 or 32, most of them married, most of them, every single one of them in high school or junior high or whatever. And essentially raping their students. And I mean this since they're like people say, well, that's not really rape because the 16-year-old kid or the 15-year-old boy really wanted to get after her. Boy, how come there wasn't any women like that when I was a young strapping lad, right? Well, and so we think of it in those terms. Why? Why do we think of it like that? That is technically rape because he is underage. It's statutory rape. If it had been a male teacher and a female student who was 15 years old, that man would never be able to teach again. He would never have a job again, probably not be able to show his face, again, because that's it, because we have a different standard of justice. So very rarely do women get the same kind of sentencing. And I've seen several studies of this over the course of like 10 or 12 years where they're looking into leniency in sentencing for women's crimes that men would end up getting much worse sentencing for. And that's just in the legal sense. That's not in the social sense or the social side of things. I got to catch up here. Hang on, guys. Jason the Dream says, hey, brother, great show, Rule Zero yesterday. Thank you. We did the end of the year show, by the way. I was on it I think it was on for the whole thing. Aaron and I bust each other's chops all the time. I did. Here's a funny thing. I'll tell you, Aaron, if you go and you look at Aaron Clary's latest book, I did the cover for it. That's why we're kind of chopping it up yesterday. Everybody's got books out. I'm kind of glad I sort of held off a little bit because I want like all the guys to be able to, like, for a lot of these guys, for like, thank you, Jack Dash, for that. Did I miss yours, Jack? No, I don't think I did. A lot of, like, Ryan Stone has a new book, his first book. Who else? Rich Cooper has his book out now too. His first book. Aaron Clary has a new book, but it's probably like his 20th. I don't know. He's got a lot of books. He's a very prolific writer. His latest one is called The Book of Numbers, and I did the cover for it. And it's kind of a short read, but it's all about economics of dating and marriage and things that I think that young men ought to consider before they get married, if they do get married, or even if you're MGTOW, you should still read the book because it will certainly build up your self, esteem about all this stuff. But it's also really a good read because even if you're single or whatever, it's things to think about. It's like data. It's hard data. It's numbers to think about. Now, most guys don't use those numbers, and we don't use our reasonable, rational minds when we're looking at like the hot piece of ass that we really want to, have. Oh, come on, move into my house, move into my apartment. You don't have to marry him for the book's numbers to be relevant. So have a look at it. I thought it was pretty good. That's why it was giving me grief. What did you say here? Okay, I have to stop. Full stop. Blue collar mindset. Thank you for the $100, my friend. I lost the one. Found your material and changed my life. Good. I'm currently on vacation in Honolulu. Very good. Really? In the Big Island. Okay, so Honolulu. By myself and enjoying life, listening to Rollo. Spin, please get out of your small towns. Good. There are so many beautiful women out there. Don't get stuck on any one girl. Thanks. Let me just let me tag something onto that blue collar here. Devil Mountain Coffee. About the middle. Sorry. Sorry, I don't want to lip smack in front of you. Sorry, I'll stop. I'll talk over here for a little bit. Will that make you? Everybody's complaining. Oh, that sounds like he's eating soup. So yesterday, and not just yesterday, but I think probably most of last week, John from Modern Life Dating was talking about, because he's in the United States right now. He's in Orlando, I think. But he's gone. Oh, no, he was in LA and then he's going to Orlando, or maybe he's there now. Yeah, no, he's in Orlando, but he started in whatever. It doesn't make any difference. He's here in the United States and he was complaining about like how grossly overweight every woman that he sees is. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you're probably in tourist areas right now and there's fat tourists there. You have to go where the hot chicks are. And I think that once he makes a trip down to go visit Myron, or he gets to different locales, you will see that the quality of women changes in different locations. So, you know, if you're looking for hot women, Butte, Montana is probably not the place you want to be. Deerfield Beach, South Beach, Miami, maybe those you have a better shot at some beautiful women there. Certainly in Hawaii, I would hope. But he's not wrong, because what is it? 70% of the U.S. population is overweight or morbidly obese. So he's not wrong, but I wish I had better news. I wish I could say, oh, we're all going to get fit and trim, but I don't see that changing anytime soon. Alex, what did you say, Alex? Are there evolved differences, RE beta bucks and alpha fucks in different regions, Asians versus Europeans? Was also curious to know about your own family roots. I'm Scandinavian. I'm actually Danish. I'm not Italian, according to, I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but I'm actually, rollotomassi is actually a pseudonym it's my writer's name. It's kind of like, let's see, Stephen King, Danielle Steele. Yeah. Danielle Steele, Sting. Yes. That's not his real name. Just so you guys know. All right. So, my own family roots, is Scandinavian. So like Denmark, thereabouts. At least that's as far back as I've ever been able to sort of, look up my own genealogy anyways. Are there alpha? Well, okay. I would say this, and this is, I guess this is kind of on topic. Remember, I've always said that alpha is a mindset and not a demographic. So a lot of guys want to say, well, there's a biological, there's an evolved component to a guy being alpha or a guy being sort of, a chump or a beta. And I think there's something to be said about that, but I think it's a nature versus nurture. I think it's subjective to the culture, to the guy, to the family. There's a lot that goes on. So you could say, well, are Asians and Europeans different because they're raised differently? Well, you can go and look at the statistics in, say, of herbivorous men in Japan and go, oh man, you could look at those and go, well, they all must be really big pussies. And it's like, not necessarily, but Asian men they're not as tall. Well, what does that make the guy alpha because he's not 5'6" or 5'10" or 6'1"? It all depends on what the standard is. And like I said, I think that, there are things that women select for. Yeah. Like physically. Does that make the guy alpha? Well, again, it's a mindset and it's not necessarily a physique. Does physique matter? Yes, it does. Is it important? Yeah. It's like number 2 or number 1 on the list. Okay. There we go. But, I would say that culturally, and socially speaking, because you're talking about different regions. So you kind of have to throw in like, how are they raised there? I saw this video of this kid in Russia, and he's an 8-year-old kid, and he's like training to be an Olympic boxer. And the dude has moves and has pretty much trained up to, at least as long as he's been able to stand or do whatever he's doing. He's been doing this boxing thing for a very long time. And they did a video of this kid. And it would be very easy to go, well, geez, look what they're doing in Russia right now. Their kids are going to kill us. They're all boxers like that. Well, again, apex fallacy. Are they all like that? Probably not. But when you see stuff like that, you go, wow, that's impressive. He looks very alpha. Probably is very alpha. Probably was raised very alpha. Probably has an alpha mindset. You can look at a kid who's 8 years old, 10 years old, and he's got the eye of the tiger, right? He's got the killer instinct. Yeah, maybe he's more alpha because he was raised and acculturated differently. So I think that there's something to that. Last but not least, Alexis, I would say this is that there's a really great documentary, and I wrote an essay about this. It's called The Warrior Gene. Look it up on, I think it's a 2-part thing. Look it up on YouTube. And it is a documentary, and the guy who's doing the narration is Henry Rollins, who speculates, Henry Rollins, if you know anything about Henry, yeah, he kind of has some sort of liberal kind of viewpoints and stuff. I get it. But guy was the lead singer for Black Flag. Okay. So, and lifts to this day, still looks like definite, like you would say Henry Rollins is probably an alpha male. You listen to him talk. You figure he's already, every time you hear him relate some stories, he can definitely fight. And you would think that of all people, Henry Rollins would have the warrior gene. Well, what is the warrior gene? Well, they go into it in that. I would say go and check that out, though. I won't give it away. They'll tell it to you better. But you would think that of all people, that Henry Rollins would have whatever they are sort of designating as the warrior gene, which is sort of this here it is, biological proof of being an alpha. Well, watch it and see for yourself. I won't spoil it. I won't give you a spoiler. So, warrior gene. Blue collar again says peas. Something on topic. Do you think Mary cucked Joseph so he wouldn't find out she cheated on him since she got pregnant and was a virgin, and it was an elaborate plan to save face? Very funny. Yeah. I'll tell you the unfunny side of that, though. Blue collar mindset is I have heard sermons from. I want to say well-meaning pastors, and this was actually part of the research that I did for book 4. And it usually comes out around this time. It usually comes out around the holidays. And it's, if there's any kind of, if a pastor or even like someone like say Beth Moore, I'm using evangelical pastors here, but like I've seen it in other senses as well, where when we talk about like sort of the birth of Christ, right? Or we talk about the Christmas story, right? And so an angel came to Joseph and said, fear not, your wife is with the child of the Lord, whatever. And what I think is funny is in the internet age, in the data age, in the age of the new enlightenment, that's the first thing that jumps in our brain, right? We go, oh yeah, sure. Because I'm sure probably Joseph's like, whoa, she's knocked up and I'm not the dad because I know I haven't got after it with her. And he was probably going to put her, and it says in the Bible, he says, he was going to put her away quietly. Put her away. What does that mean? But then, of course, divine intervention says, no, whatever. You could make a case for that. But what I hear from well-meaning, let's just say, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, well-meaning pastors is that is a rationale for young men in the church to take up with a single mother. Because Joseph did, and look, here's the first example of a guy who wasn't the stepdad. He's the guy who he's the dad who stepped up. Joseph, right? Besides the Christmas story, what else do you hear in the Bible about Joseph? Even prior to the Christmas story, what do you know about Joseph? He just kind of disappears in the Gospels, like in the 4 Gospels. And he just kind of disappears. And we hear a lot about Mary. We hear a lot about Mary Magdalene. We hear a lot about the other, the 12 disciples and all the characters that we are very familiar with, but we don't hear anything about Joseph. Did he abandon them? Did he die? What happened? We don't really know what happened to Joseph, at least from a scriptural perspective. I mean, you could probably make guesses. They don't talk about that aspect. They will only use that as sort of like this reason for you to go and take up with a single mommy. Again, it's almost like a problem it's almost like a problem in search. Well, it's a solution in search of a problem, and the problem happens to be single mommies that are in the church. Nick, thank you for that. I don't have a message that's attached to that one though. Super Slavonsky says, I like the way you still speak about Rush V with respect because he deserves it. He does. He does. I think his old material definitely does. Gosh, now we're turning into, are we just going to do Q&A? Because I actually did have some topics to talk about today. I like the way you talk about Rush. Yes, regarding PUAs, the best PUA is Todd Valentine by far. I think Todd V's early stuff was good. I think the stuff that he's putting out right now is dated, and Todd has sort of gone purple pill. Not entirely. I can't like push him quite over the edge, but there was a time when he had the split with RSD, and it was right about the time, of course, that he knocked up his girlfriend and then had to marry his girlfriend, and things sort of changed for them. And it was also at the very same time, it was sort of like the perfect storm for poor Todd. It was at that same time that RSD was moving away from pickup, and you won't find RSD videos anymore because now Owen Cook wants to be Tony Robbins. And let me just explain that too, because here we are. I'm just about to launch book 4, and I usually put acknowledgments. I put Rush in pretty much all of the acknowledgments of my books. Some of those I regret, and some of those I don't. But Rush is not one, and I think that the people say, well, Rollo and Rush have a beef. And it's like, well, I don't have a beef with the guy. He's blocked me back in 2015. I think that Rush is just Rush, and he has his own demons and his own issues to sort of deal with. At the same time, Rush can't just go get a regular job either. Rush is not going to go, okay, screw it, I'm out of the manosphere. I think I'm going to go lay tile, right? Well, I think I'm going to go get a cubicle job now. Rush is never going to be able to do anything like that simply because his past will always follow him. He has a digital footprint that he will never escape for the rest of his life. And so maybe that's what sort of pushed him over the edge. I don't know. I think he sort of lost his mind for the last 2 or 3 years. I think a lot of that had to do with he was expecting to do something similar to what happened with Mystery. Mystery wanted to parlay his game into making his blue pill dreams come true. And I think that Rush did something very similar. He got burned. You notice that he had his religious conversion right after he broke up with the girlfriend that he took up with. But prior to 2015, maybe even 2016, you could make an argument for, but certainly 2014-ish, 2015-ish, he still has some great material. I was really disappointed to see him unpublish some of his books. I thought Pussy Paradise was really good because it was very revelatory about what was going on at the time. I think Bang is always going to be something that guys should probably read. And then he has, and most guys don't know this book, and I think he probably unpublished it too. I think Rush's best book was 30 Bangs, because it was like he goes through 30 instances of the girls that he got with in Poland or Estonia or wherever the hell he was. And he goes through his process with each one of these girls. And, feminists and everybody who hate Rush wanted to say, oh, look, he's a rape apologist, and he said this and he said that. And of course, they're just completely taking him out of context. But I think that if you really want to get an idea of what led Rush to be what Rush is now, read 30 Bangs. Average age of marriage in the UK is 35 and a half. Are you sure? I don't think so. Because I looked at the data for that. Show me what that data is, Abdul. Okay, no more coffee. Show me what that is. I would love to see. Can you give me a link on that? I have talked about average age of marriage in the United States, and I quote the data in book 4, as a matter of fact. Sorry, I don't want to smack my lips. The average age of first marriage in the United States for men is 29.8 years old, and for women it is 28.7 or something like that for first marriage. Now remember, that's the median average. So it could be older, it could be younger, but that's about if you have what is it? If you have a girl who gets married at 19, you have another girl who gets married at 39. What's the average? 29. And it depends on the polls and everything like that. I've not seen that. I would like to, if you can send me a link, I'd be happy to look that up though. I don't know if is that accurate? Maybe it is. Would not surprise me one bit. Facundo, I speak Spanish. So do I. And don't fully get a woman's sexual marketplace is her only agency with men. Could you please explain or paraphrase blah, 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 and why is that? Okay. And I'm going to answer your question because it goes nicely with what I'm talking about today. So when it comes to agency is not one of my words. It's not something I just sort of pulled out of my ass. This is something that has been a staple. The term agency has been a staple for feminists for a long time. Excuse me. So agency is power. It's just I think it's better than saying power. Because you say, well, women have power because they have their sexuality. You say that, and it sounds, and the connotation is different than when Gloria Steinem or, whoever says, oh, well, women's agency has always been this or that or whatever. Like you say agency, and it sounds nicer. It's like neurolinguistic programming, right? You say the right words, then people have a different opinion. It's like adjusting your tone kind of thing. So agency really kind of translates to power. And the reason why they call it agency is because power is like sort of like a man's word.
Power! I want you to do what I want you to do, bitch.
That's power. Where for women, it's agency. We're going to use our agency to effect change. Like that sounds a whole lot better. So I use those terms. Sometimes I'll use agency, like moral agency is one thing, but do they have a power? Do they have a control? Can they exercise their will more fluidly, more frequently, more opportunistically, more according to their like free will? Can we exercise free will? And if so, do women have a responsibility because they have that agency? So women, particularly in a gynocentric sense, in a feminist sense, agency sounds like something that's really nice, but it sort of just comes down to like that's how women get influence. That's how women get power. That's how women get attention. Attention is the coin of the realm in girl world. So whenever I use the term agency, I'm trying to use it in that respect, but I'm also kind of turning it around on sort of the feminist narrative when I say agency. So here's what you're asking me about, Facundo, is you've probably been following me on Twitter. And on Twitter, right around the time when we had, it was really well illustrated, let's say, around May, June-ish, up through, actually probably up to right now, during sort of the civil unrest that was going on in the United States because of the riots and Antifa and just like demonstrations, whatever you want to call them. Whenever women want attention, their natural reflex is to take off their clothes. The natural reflex is to, I mentioned this in book 4. I wonder if I should I'll give you a graphic example of what I'm talking about when it comes to agency here. When it comes, do I have that? I do have that. I'm going to show you something. I'll give you a graphic illustration of what I mean when it comes to agency. Let's see if I can just grab this out of here. I think I have it up. Is that it? No, that's not it. Is that it? No, no, that's not it. But I probably should throw this one up there anyways. I have some images. I didn't actually include these images in the book, but I probably should have in some sense. There it is. That's the one I wanted to show you. Sorry, I'm copying it over here. There we go. Let me throw this up on the screen real quick. I don't think this will bother anyone. So right here. Can you guys see that? I forget the girl's name. I actually quoted her in the book and now I can't remember. You got this girl and this was back in 2013, and this was on a Christmas mass, by the way. And this woman who is part of Femin, which is, I guess they're a European feminist protest organization. Woman strips off her shirt writes "I am God" across her chest and jumps up in the middle of mass. And this is in Germany. And of course, they're trying to get her off the stage or get her off get her out of the church kind of thing. And she's thrown out. And of course, she's doing this because she is protesting, and this is her own words, protesting women's being excluded from the church. Now, this is patently ridiculous because there are more women in church than there are men in church these days. Ask me how I know. I went and did all the research for it, which you'll see in book 4. But this is what I mean by agency. The first thing that women will do when they want attention is to take their clothes off. Why? Why is that? Why is it that the first reflexive impulse is to strip naked and write "I am God"? I thought that was like the most I don't want to say poetic, but profound statement, let's just say, of women and agency. When that one girl, maybe you guys can track with me here, that one girl, and I don't remember her name, that's how forgettable she was, but the girl who was gallivanting around naked at these protests, at these Antifa protests, and of course she has her white knight up in front with a shield, so she can just parade back and forth and show off her cooter and her tits and everything like that to the police officers. And there's always, you could probably find that, I'm sure you can find this on the internet. There's all kinds of shots of women taking their clothes off and running around and making protests. So when it comes to protesting, when women want attention, remember, women's innate language is not overt language. It's not overt communication. It's covert communication. There is one exception to this. When women need to make sure that men pay attention, when women need to make sure that the message that they're conveying, the communication that they're conveying to men and to the world is not misinterpreted and not misunderstood in no uncertain terms, that's when the clothes come off. Always. Men don't do you see men doing that? Do you see men taking their clothes off and gallivanting around naked to make a statement at a museum or in front of a statue or at an Antifa protest or climbing naked on the altar at a cathedral in Germany and saying "I am God"? Do you see men doing that? I would like to see, because if you found any, I would like to know, because by and large, and it is so reliable, it is so predictable, that it leads me to only one conclusion, which is women's only real agency, their only realizable agency, is their sexuality. That's why people will pay attention to them. Even if they're ugly, even if they're like on a slut march or whatever it is, that's the whole thing. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Okay, I'm looking at you. What do you have to say? That's the mentality. If I take my clothes off, then men will look at me and men will pay attention to me. I have to get this radical. Well, for what? To take your clothes off? What are you, Lady Godiva? Why? In fact, that's even a good example, right? The Godiva gallivanting around the streets buck naked on a horse, I think. Why? Why is that a thing? Well, because that's what men will pay attention to. They'll pay attention to sex. They'll always pay attention. That's the one most reliable thing that men will do. I got that question too, by the way. Somebody asked me this in the chat before we started the show, was about sexual agency and stuff like that. And that's really what I was talking about, is that's part of that agency. It's part of pay attention to me, do what I want you to do. OnlyFans is a monetizable version of that reflex. Well, I can't make any money as a doctor, or I can make money. I went to med school, and I've got all these bills, these student loans. I need to pay them off, and I can't even do that as a surgeon as well as I could if I started my OnlyFans page. So you say these stories of women who just abandoned being a doctor or a nurse or whatever it is that they trained for, and there they go. Or you'll see these, and this is a little less extreme, I think, but when you look at women doing twerking videos, or you see these nurses who are gallivanting around and doing these tribal dances, and hey, look at me, guys, wear your mask, and it's the nurse videos that you saw that are still going on right now. And although they might not be taking their clothes off, it's still sexual in nature and it's suggestive in nature. So you'll pay attention. And that's where it comes. That's really where it comes down to. Remember, and it goes back down, I think a lot of this, and this is just me spitballing here, but I think this also goes down to the difference in the gendered differences between men and women when it comes to respect. Because for women, women just have to be women. They don't have to do anything that's necessarily respectable. Hey, if you do, great, but you're entering sort of into the male frame there. For men, because we have dominance hierarchies and because we have to have that status, because our status and the way we look, yes, but also what we do and who we are, what we are is what sort of puts us into into the dominance hierarchy. So respectability is something that men have to be concerned about because we have a burden of performance, because we have to merit respect. We have to be a respectable person. For women, all you have to do is have a vagina. Oh, you don't respect women. No, I don't actually, because my thinking, and most guys would be like, what are you talking about? Of course I respect women. Oh, there's a default courtesy just because she's a woman. Then I have to open the door, milady. That kind of courtesy, that kind of respect. I respect you. Yeah, you see these videos of these guys, these kids, these children between like say 15 and 25, something like that. I've seen these TikTok, I think they're TikTok videos, and they just get a bunch of these really weesh looking beta male guys and they go, I respect women. I respect women. I respect women. You should respect women. That's all it is. It's like really what that, and it falls flat, I think, for women. Because they don't want that. They don't want that respect from those guys. They want respect. They want like attention, really, from alpha guys who aren't going to give that to them. There's a power in alpha indifference. That's actually part of my notes here today. I'll get into that here in just a second. But there's a power in that indifference because an alpha male is not concerned with default respect. He's concerned with merited respect, and that's from a male perspective. What do you do that makes you respectable? What are you? And I think today we're very hesitant to say, well, a woman doesn't deserve respect if she's on OnlyFans, or she doesn't deserve respect if she chooses to live her life in a particular way, because we don't. The last thing any guy on planet Earth right now in a Western society and Western culture wants to be is seen as judgmental. Judgmentalism is a sin into the female religion, which is emotionalism. You'll see that in the book as well. But the emotionalism of women is a new religion right now. And the greatest sin, and the only one really that women can really sort of throw, well, I guess women can do it at each other too, but it's usually a male thing, is you're judgmental. Stop judging me. Don't judge me. Like it's even a joke now. Don't judge me, but that's why wouldn't I? It goes when it comes to judging things, when it comes to like assessing someone's character, when it comes to assessing someone's behavior, assessing their mindset, seeing whether or not they're respectable, assessing their status, assessing who they are. Again, I don't think it should be based on like skin color or whatever. Yeah, okay, got it. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be in some way, vet for character, like be a good judge of character, be a good judge of that person's behavior. Does this person do this thing all? And I'm not just talking men or women; it's both, right? What do they do? What do they consistently do? Is that part of their character? Is that a character flaw? Is that a personality, issue? What is it that they're doing? Just to even have that thought it's a sin. You're not supposed to do that. Don't make him feel bad because you're judging them. No, we judge people all the time. It's just we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to say it. We do it innately, really. But and now I'm going to make this a gendered thing. Like if you were to ever say, well, that actually kind of a slut. Oh my God, you're slut shaming. Well, yeah, because that's what we do. We want to be, we want a woman who's going to be, eventually, we want a woman who's going to be a good choice for us when it comes to parental investment. I don't want a woman who's going to cuckold me. And I'm sure that women don't want to get with a guy who pretends to be alpha and later she finds out he's beta. Those are the two existential fears of men and women: cuckoldry and getting duped, I guess. So would probably be the best way I can put it for women, like having a guy slip past the hypergamous filter. I think maybe I'm going to talk about that here today too a little bit when it comes to like what is feminine intuition versus what did you got here? Must society collapse before we return to monogamy? Yes, probably. Here's the thing is monogamy is, I think, we're going to go through some transition phases here first. Ola, my favorite guitarist. We will probably opt for polygamy. We're already looking at polygamy right now, and I mean polygamy in the sense that it's a female initiated polygamy. It's not like I mean, sure, it could be like Andrew Tate and Izzo's. You're not going to be Dan Bilzerian. Sorry, I'm saying the name wrong. Blizzarian Blitz, Dan Blitz. You're probably not going to live like that, but I think that women are opting more. They're looking more for the guy who is the apex alpha, or they believe that they deserve that apex alpha. And so there'll be women who will pursue that as a mating strategy for a while until they get to the point where they can no longer pursue it. And they'll still would love to be with that alpha male guy, but they still need the support and security. And when I talk about security, it's not just, money. Right. Well, which I'm sure in some ways for some women, it's still an issue or still a priority, but it's also emotional investment. There's a lot of other things that go along with security that is separate from financial security. So women will say this, particularly like feminist women will say, well, we don't need men. We just want men. Well, why do you want men? Because you want somebody to be invested in you. You want to bang somebody. You want a good time. You want a good sexual experience. Yes, but you also want the guy who's emotionally invested in you because there's still that need for emotional security. You want protection. You want provisioning, and you want parental investment. And the older women get, the harder it is for them to achieve that and to lock that down and to optimize that. So will there still be monogamy? Yeah, there will, but it will be monogamy after the fact. And I think that's going to be the phase that we're going to have to go through first. Is we're going to have to go through kind of this socialized, normalized polygamy, or we're already calling it poly, like polyamory. You know why they call it polyamory, not polygamy, is because there's still this idea that a woman should be able to have like 4 guys living in the same house with her, and one of the most alpha of the nerds knocks her up, kind of thing. That's a thruple or a quadruple or whatever you want to call it. And then when I come down on poly, and I do so not out of like moralistic reasons so much as it goes against, I think that poly in the way that we think of it right now, and I've done two different episodes on this show about poly already. I've got 4 different essays on the rational male. I've talked about this till I'm blue in the face. This is nothing new. I said this was coming, and here we are. Everybody told me, poly's never going to be mainstream. Bullshit. Here we are. It's mainstream. It's new. It's here. Well, only certain people, only smart people can do it because they can eroticize their jealousy instinct. No, they can't. Go talk to Katie Hill and talk to her former Congresswoman Katie Hill, and ask her if her husband, her now ex-husband, could successfully eroticize his jealousy instinct. No, it's something that I think that can elite people do it. Yeah, but why? There's a reason why you have jealousy instincts. There's a reason why, because men don't want to get cuckolded. That's an innate thing. So that's why monogamy seemed like a good idea. It did the most good for the most men. Monogamy is a man's thing, not just like women say, well, there's someone for everyone, and it's a soulmate, and this romantic ideal and all that. Monogamy works best for a society full of beta males because at least they know or they have some hope, let's just say, that they can solve their reproductive problem. So there's someone out there for everyone. Oh, good. I just got to find my one and my soulmate. And it's one man and one woman, and we're going to write it into our religion, or we're going to write it into our culture, and we're going to write it into our social order. Now, is that true for Muslims? No, not necessarily. They have options. There's certain cultures where you can be polygamous. There are very few cultures where you're going to find polyandrous, which means one woman and many men. You won't see that written into a religion. You will see polygamy written into a religion. You won't see polyandry written into a religion. You might see polyamory. You might be like, free love, let your free flag fly kind of thing. But you're not going to find too many social orders founded on polyandry. Although, really, that's kind of what we're going for. But I have to sort of measure my words correctly, because there's going to be some autistic guy who's going to just talk semantics and say, well, that's really polygamy. And he'd be right, because it is one man and many women, but it's women who want that one man, not the guy who's initiating it, not the guy who's like the alpha male who's saying, I want to have a harem of 10 wives and I'm going to keep them sequestered by eunuchs in the forbidden city, right? It's not that. It's because a globalized social order, a gynocentric social order, it reinforces polygamy, but female initiated polygamy. But then women go, well, I don't really want that. Yeah, but they feel like they're forced into that because they don't want to. They would rather feel guilty about that kind of polygamy than they would having to bear the children of your shitty genes for beta males. That's why. So it's always it's kind of this trade-off. So are we going to return to monogamy? Should we have collapsed? Well, what does social collapse look like to you? I love it when we talk about like, gosh, okay, I guess we're going to do this today. I love it when guys will say, well, enjoy the decline. Okay, well, what does the decline look like at the end of the decline? What is, okay, well, here we are, ground zero, everything's gone to hell. What does a gone to hell look like? Does it look like everybody's banging everybody? Are we just running around in the streets? Are the cities burning? And then what? You know, have you seen, and I use this in the book, by the way, I'm sure you've heard this saying before. It's what is it? Strong men create good times create weak men create bad times create strong men, blah, 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 as if there's some like cyclic thing that goes along with that. I don't know how, I think probably that worked for a long time. I don't know where we're going with it right now. I mean, I think we want to believe there's some sort of cosmic, like karmic, what goes around comes around kind of thing. We have this belief that there's got to be some sort of, balance to the galaxy or some shit like that. And, you know, people in the dark ages and the people who are dealing with the bad times, the shit times, they probably don't think, oh, well, it's going to be good times once we get these strong boys out here to help us clean up. They weren't thinking that when Rome was burning. Well, all we got to do is just get some strong men in here. I mean, maybe there's something that's been cyclical up to now, but who knows? I'm always wondering what that looks like, because if society collapses, then we return to monogamy. Well, yeah, and I understand where you're going with that, because the idea is this, and we talked about this, I think, on Rule Zero, is we tend to think that women will shape up. They're going to come around. Well, now that they need us, that's not the point in all this. We remember back in like March, and sorry, I'm going to pick on you for a second here, but the doomers and the MGTOW guys thought that, oh, well, here we have COVID. We're all locked in, and now the society's going to collapse, and people are losing their jobs. Karen can't go to work at HR anymore, and now she's got to rely on her electrician husband, who was making less than her, but now he's making more than her. And now we're going to see women turn in. They're going to start baking apple pies when you come home from work, and they're going to be a good Susie homemaker now. All these feminists suddenly didn't want to be feminists; they wanted to be traditionally feminine women. Now that the good times are drying up. Now that they lost their jobs, now they've got to stay home. Now they've got to take care of the kids. Now they've got to be careful, because if we go outside without a mask on, we're going to die. And so we thought, oh, well, great. Now men are the ones who are going to be in charge. Now women are going to change their song. No, they're not, because their song is the same. You've already seen it. You see it right here. Like, women are very empowered, and they don't need no man, and everything's toxic masculinity. Until the floodwaters rise, until you need to be airlifted off the top of your roof because of the hurricane, until you need some guy to step in and prevent the saber-toothed tiger from ripping you to shreds, rips him to shreds instead, right? That's when everything's, oh, well, thank you, my hero. That's not the point. The point is this, is like, she's not really like that. That's not how she is. Give her an inch and she'll take you a mile. She's been taking you a mile. Well, women, I mean this in the bigger scope of thing, the meta scale. Women, in the bigger sense, you give them an inch and they'll take you a mile. You give them, by what is it, by inch or by mile? It's order of degrees. But the nature. And we've known the nature for a long time. We've just forgotten about it. We just don't have it certainly not in Western culture anymore. It's one of the things that when I was writing the fourth book, whenever I talk about the red pill, or whenever I'm dealing with guys who are very much believers, or they're very much invested in their sort of they're certainly their religion, but they're invested in their moral convictions, the first thing out of their mouth is like, well, I've known all about this red pill stuff for a long time. Our religion, insert religion, whatever it is, it makes no difference, right? Whatever religion was the first red pill. Really? Then why is it that women are assimilating your religion and your organization right now? Well, things have gotten a little, then I think one of the reasons why sort of religious tradcon guys get upset with the red pill is it took pickup artists, literally in some cases pickup artists, to point out what was going on right under their noses, and to point out what was, one of the reasons why the religious set really hated on Dalrock for so long was because he pointed it out. He rolled back some rocks. He rolled over some rocks they didn't want to have rolled over. And chief amongst those, uncomfortable, unflattering truths is that, yeah, you probably were right. And I explore this in book 4 is, yeah, a lot of Old Testament stuff, a lot of old school patriarchal, and I mean that in the most positive sense I can say it, religious, male, religions by men for men understood women's nature. They did to a greater degree. Maybe not to the extent that we have the data sets now in the internet age and the data age, but they understood it well enough that they said, you know what? If we let women have free reign over their mating strategy, now they're not thinking this, but we let women have their free reign over their mating strategies, they'll run roughshod over men. Most men, because most men are beta. And if we don't have rules, then even those beta guys are going to get their asses kicked because they're going to get cuckolded, and we need to have some sort of balance. We need to have some kind of monogamy here because it does the most good for the most amount of men. Well, how do we do that? Well, we've got to make moral, rules so women aren't skanks. We have to make sin for women. Women are completely sinless today. Absolutely sinless. In fact, just bringing it up just is judgmentalism, right? That's your sin, mister. Our religion is emotionalism, and you just judged me, so therefore you're going to hell, and you need to repent. And if you don't, you'll be canceled. So we have that, but so when guys tell me, well, my religion was the first, whatever it is, Greek Orthodox from the Council of 1781 in, Moldavia by this guy who is the Hierophant of whatever, whatever your most specific religion is, that will always be the most red pill that there is, because it's you. That's what you're invested in. But the fact still remains is that there's definitely a lot of crossover. There's a lot of latent purposes to the traditions and to what we would take as articles of faith. But they use that in a sense to buffer women and men, our behaviors, particularly when it comes to, I keep saying particularly, when it comes to mating strategies, because a lot of shit can go down because of mating strategies. What did you say here? Hey, Rollo, I know it's off topic, of course. It's all off topic. Man, I could probably do 3 friggin' hours of just you guys throwing these questions at me. I know it's off topic, but is an alpha personality able to raise a girl properly without daddy issues? Yes. I would say this is you will, first of all, go read book 3, which is Positive Masculinity. There's a whole chapter in there on raising daughters. That's number 1. Number 2 is by exemplifying, by being unapologetically red pill, by being unapologetically alpha in your parenting style as a man, or your fathering style, as a man. Yeah, I don't think that a lot of guys, a lot of parents, particularly fathers, really realize how much their actions and their continuous habitual actions impress upon their sons and their daughters that gender stereotype, that gender role. This is the model for masculine. I hate using those terms because they've been bastardized and have been absconded with. That's your vocabulary word. They've been appropriated by people who should never be appropriating them. But when I talk about like gender roles, or I talk about like a division of labor and that kind of stuff, it sounds very, very schmaltzy and very progressive and very liberal and all that stuff. So I try to use things that I don't use terms like traditional masculinity. I'll say conventional masculinity. Or if I say, you need to be a positive male role or positive role model for, you need to understand that your behavior, whatever it is the model for masculinity that your son or daughter, or even their friends or young friends are going to see. And that's what they're going to say. Well, you know, so-and-so's dad would never put up with that shit. So-and-so's dad really, or so-and-so's mom really loves so-and-so's dad. It's what you do. I forget who said that. Children don't listen to what you say. They watch what you do. Looking forward to book 4. Yeah, me too, man. It is a long time coming. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Actually, I do know what I'm going to do with myself. I'll tell you at the end of the show. What is the evolutionary purpose of a woman's solipsism? Okay. I've talked about this many times. The reason why women are innately solipsistic is because they have to be. It is a survival adaptation, a psychological survival adaptation. So women have to be self-concerned to an obsessive degree. So when we talk about somebody being narcissistic, I think for men, being a narcissist is, if you know a narcissistic man, you'll probably call him a bitch. If you know a guy who's like, oh, I'm going to do my hair and I'm just me, you know, look at me, you know, the most narcissistic guy you know, you would probably say to some degree that guy has something a little fey about him, or something that seems even the most masculine guys who are narcissists, like, I love me. It's different being self-important and being an asshole than it is to be like, sort of like, oh, look at me, you know, like this narcissistic kind of personality disorder. You will see and I can show you the stats for this too. Narcissistic personality disorder almost uniquely manifests itself in females. Not so much males. We tend to, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It probably does, but probably more so now in these last 2 generations than any other, but mostly we associate that with females. So when you say narcissistic, we think of women who are narcissistic females. We don't think of guys who are like narcissists so much unless they're really, really good looking, or they're very kind of flamboyantly gay, or they are just in love with themselves kind of thing. And most women, when they complain about a guy being narcissistic, it's usually the guy that they can't lock down. It's usually the guy who is so good looking and so understands, like I've said before, there's nothing more threatening than a guy who understands his true value to women and acknowledges that and leverages that for himself. Women will call that guy narcissistic, and there's nothing wrong with a little bit of healthy self-love. You should be proud of yourself for the things that you should be proud of, right? I don't have a problem with people say, well, you shouldn't, pride is a problem. Well, yeah, overblown pride, being prideful is a whole lot different than being proud of yourself, like of things that you ought to be proud of yourself about. But when it comes to solipsism, we kind of conflate solipsism with narcissism because it's an easy step for women to go from being solipsistic to being narcissistic. A narcissistic woman is usually a woman who is so good looking that her solipsism sort of is so reinforced it becomes a personality flaw for her. So no one exists outside of herself, or no one exists outside of herself and her offspring. And the reason why I say that solipsism as sort of a psychology, as part of like women's innate mental firmware, is due to the fact that if they weren't that obsessively self-concerned to the point where everything else is blocked out, the women who were tended to survive longer than the women who weren't. The women who are more altruistic, the women who are more self-sacrificing. Men sacrifice. Men are far more altruistic when it comes to like personal sacrifice, to the point where like they're ready to die. Men have the protector instinct. Women have a solipsistic instinct. And as much as that sounds like really bad or opportunistic or whatever, it's simply something that we needed to have to survive up to the point where we're at right now. So in 2020, in the 20th century, how does that manifest in women up to year 2021? Well, solipsism, and you take that and you reinforce that, and you take away all buffers from that, and you put it online, and you make it easily facilitatable. Hopefully that's a word. You make it reinforced and rewarded for women. Then you get very solipsistic generations of women. I think a lot of guys think that solipsism in women is a bad thing. It just is. It can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. It just depends on the chick. It depends on how she goes about things. So solipsism, and again, something I think that the religions of old understood, and they needed to in place sort of social buffers so to ensure that people, the most good for the most people. So when women say, oh, well, patriarchal religions are so repressive of women's sexuality. Yeah, they were, because the guys who were making the rules, the guys who were sort of late, and I'm culturally making the rules, they're the ones that they understood well enough women's nature that they go, yeah, that's a sin. That's not a sin. This is something that is pro-social. This is something that's anti-social. And if we have to make it a sin, then we'll make it a sin. If we have to make it something that is looked down upon or a social stigma, then we're going to do that too. Prior to the sexual revolution, being a single mother would bring great shame on a family, and not just in a religious sense, in a social sense. Now it's a badge of honor for women you could go and do it yourself, and I'm doing it all. I'm the best. We don't need a man. I can be the model of masculinity and femininity. That is the most insulting, most self-centered, most narcissistic. Only women could come up with that. Only solipsistic women could come up with, oh, sure, I can have it all and I can be it all. I can be the best father for my kid. I can raise a boy, no problem. I'm going to raise him to be the best man because all these other guys, they're sons of bitches and they don't know how to do this. And maybe they don't, right? Maybe they're just too fey, or they've just been too emasculated, or the guys that she wants to get with don't want to get with her. And so I'm going to teach you to be a right man. I'm going to teach you to be a good human. It's not boys will be boys, it's boys will be good humans. What? So he wasn't a good human before you decided to be his masculine role model. And now that you are, he's going to be a good human. If you haven't guessed, I've written quite a bit about this. I think that is probably the most arrogant, most self-centered, nonsense. Yeah, but most self-centered, psychosis, mass psychosis, to tell women, don't worry about it. You don't need a man. You can be. You're better you can raise a boy better than any man could, and we do that. We encourage that. We encourage that through feminism, through gynosexual social order, through excluding boys, through our education, through our society, through our pop culture, through psychology. Traditional masculinity, to the American Psychology Association, is a personality disorder right now. So the way women do it is the right way, and the way men do it is the wrong way. So why wouldn't a woman say, well, I can easily raise a boy to be a better man because I'm teaching him the female correct way of being a man. And then that guy, then consequently, the 5-year-old boy is raised as a defective girl, who then later becomes a young man who is a defective woman, a young woman. And the cycle repeats. And we go, where are all the real men? Where are the cowboys? Well, you created them. You created you created all those overly emotional children because you believe in the religion of emotionalism. There, that's the long and the short. Solipsism, the short answer to that question is they have to be solipsistic because they have to be that concerned. Remember that when women in our evolutionary past, in our ancestral past, picking the wrong guy could be a death sentence. So yeah, you're going to develop over the course of millennia, hundreds of, in some cases, 100,000 years, I guess. Certainly thousands of years, you're going to develop an evolved mental firmware that is going to predispose women to solipsism, because if they're not solipsistic, remember, getting with the wrong guy is a death sentence. Even getting with the right guy could still be a death sentence. So that's why there's this sort of obsessive need for confirmation. Why is and I was going to say here, because hypergamy is not a straitjacket, right? One of the question, the doubt, the hypergamous doubt is this: is he the best I can do? And it is a constant thing for women. I don't care what age. A girl as young as 4 or 5 years old likes little Joey in the kindergarten class or whatever. And, oh, well, you know, Joey's not as cool as Jimmy over here. And that goes up and up and up and up until that girl gets to the point where she's, oh, well, he asked me to marry him, but I'm really kind of hung up on the alpha that I'm a widow for. And they don't understand. They don't understand why. And women get confused about stuff like that. They don't understand why they feel the way that they do. But from a practical sense, from a sort of a God's eye view of the whole thing, that's the female intuition, right? It's the hypergamous filter. Is he the best I can do? And that's what is and then once a woman has made her choice and has committed to that choice, that question doesn't go away. You want to live it. You want to know how to live in an LTR or whatever. You want to know how to live with a woman. You have to understand the hypergamous doubt. It is always on, just like your sexuality is always on. Like I'm married, I'm not dead. You know, you're checking out Megan Fox or whoever with this swimsuit girl, right? That to that extent that you are always sort of like you're like men can assess sexual viability, for fertility, sexual viability, availability in a split second. We can do this. For women, it's the same thing when it comes to the hypergamous doubt. Is he or is he not the best that I can do? And if she's already committed to that guy and he insists that he's not the best she can do, well, and after enough times, after it's been reinforced enough times, then maybe she cheats. Then maybe hypergamy overrides any ethical concerns, any moral concerns, any convictions. That's why I keep saying, like, hypergamy doesn't care. People don't. I think people take hypergamy doesn't care. That's an essay I wrote. It's in book 1, but it's people really took that and ran with that because I was giving examples, and this was just sort of me just like, I don't know, waxing poetic, I guess, way back in the day. But I wrote an essay called Hypergamy Doesn't Care. And the reason why I said that is because so many guys invest themselves in one side of hypergamy. I took my kids to school. How come she cheated on me? I read them bedtime stories all the time. I did the homework. Took them to soccer practice. I was at every piano recital. I put my kids through college. I did this. I did that. There's this idea is what I call as relational equity. The more I do, the more I put into this family. And this is male deductive logic, right? The more I invest myself, the more I invest myself in the 3 Ps: protection, provisioning, and parental investment. The more I do that, the more stable and the stronger my marriage will be. That's that's backed up all the time. It's backed up in church. It's backed up by Oprah and Dr. Phil and popular culture. Just be open communication and blah, 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 blah. They never want to talk about the other side of hypergamy. They never want to talk about hypergamous doubt, which is he the best that I can do? And that is why I said hypergamy doesn't care. It doesn't care if you're married. It doesn't care if you're married and you've done all those great things and she wants to get with the guy who is the criminal, the ISIS warlord, that wants to get with the guy who is the, she wants to start her own fan club for the guy who's bombed some building or something like that. And she falls in love with that guy and her her hindbrain hypergamy kicks in and she says, yeah, this guy who's been the dutiful beta, who's had really good relationships with my kids and has put all, hypergamy doesn't care at some point. If the hypergamous doubt says, is he the best I can do? And you're not, and maybe the guy who is the murderous thug in prison that she wants to have conjugal visits with, that guy is. Prior to the internet, prior to the society, the westernized culture that we're in right now, prior to that, women didn't have those options. So it's not like they didn't have the opportunity to find out that what is it? Jeremy Meeks, remember the good looking, black guy, I don't even call him black. He was like mocha, right? I mean, just good looking model quality dude. And he went to prison and I don't know how he made it on the internet, but like girls just fell in love with him and just wanted to they didn't care if he'd killed 10 men. In fact, that would only make him hotter. And in the post-internet age, women have access to that. Oh, we can see that. And now we can see it all the time in real time. Here he is. Look how good. Look how gorgeous he is. Oh, I'm going to send him fan mail. Let's start a blog for Jeremy Meeks, or let's start a blog for this guy who I think is hot, who killed an old nun. And completely, when, of course, we want to say, oh, these women are just damaged and they're just psychologically messed up, or they've got issues, whatever. You can qualify it all you want, but it's only women that are doing that. And it's women that are seeking that out because of the hypergamous doubt. So you got that. But I was going to say is that at no other time in history have we had the availability or even the ability at all for women to put themselves into a position where they could even know about a dude like that. So there you go. Average age of marriage in 2018 in Germany is 32. Wow. For men, and 34.6. Oh, excuse me. For women, and then 34.6 for men. I can't post the whole link here, but you can find the data. Okay. I'll look that up. I looked at global statistics for marriage, and I know it's like, if it's not 29, it's close to 30 for global stats, which kind of surprises me. Marriages in Western cultures today is really more for the elite. It's for people who are educated, which makes no sense, right? But, marriage from a contractual sense, for the unconscionable contract is what I called it in book 4. The unconscionable contract. It's funny that it seems like it's and statistically it's true. It's reserved for people who are like upper middle class, who are college educated, and they're the ones that want to get married, or else it's the very lower class who have to get married because they have to have lots and lots of kids. Damn, sorry, you guys got away from me a little bit. I wanted to get to ours, who gave me 1,000 something or others, and I can't. Ours. Oh, excuse me. It's Blackbird 777. You gave me this. What's ours? ARS? Is it Argentina or something? He says, "What is game today, and who is the best person to learn it from?" Well, that's a good question. I want to say, like, I can give you some names. I can say Troy Francis. I can say go learn it from Myron. Go learn it from Todd Valentine. Right? Go learn it from. People have asked me this a million times. I think maybe if I'm writing another book, it will probably be a little bit more of a practical guide, and not so much like, here, try these strategies, or try these. Here's some helpful tips on game. I'm not going to write that. That book is never going to come out of me. But I will write a book to give you some suggestions and some understanding as to why those things would work or should work. That was when I first started writing on So Suave, the reason that I got into doing what I do now was primarily because I wanted to look under the hood, right? I wanted to figure out, I wanted to reverse engineer things. Why does a neg hit work? Why does cocky funny work? Why does amuse mastery work? Why does peacocking or props, why does that work? Like, why is it that, like, what is it that these guys figured out about human nature, about female nature, that is at least reliable enough that you can sort of build something, a behavioral set on it, so that you can get laid, so that you can solve your reproductive problems. I would say by and large, the guys who are learning game, they're learning it because they're generally losers in the sexual marketplace. And I don't mean that, like, I mean that in the clinical sense. They're not alphas. They're not the guys who are rewarded with sex and attention and a desire to lock them down. And this has always been the way it is. So the guys who are betas, the guys who are unselected, the guys who are less than, who are guys that wouldn't necessarily be guys that women would select organically with genuine desire, it has prompted men to figure out techniques, figure out ways to sort of do an end run around alpha, for lack of a better term, right? And I mean that in a very kind of abstract meaning. Like, you got guys who have alpha, whatever that is, right? Good looks, status, he's 6 foot tall, and he's whatever looks maxers, whatever the doomers say. Like, you got that guy, and then you've got the guys who aren't that guy, but they're not so put out that they're just like, I'm going to kill myself. Right? I'm going to hang myself. I'm just going to live my own life and just never talk to girls again. Not those guys. The guys who are just not quite that. I would say that there are, like, it's almost like a bell curve, right? You got the guys who are like the alphas on the one end of the extreme end of the bell curve, like the top 5% of the top 20% that women are interested in. And then you got the guys who are somewhere around the 80th percentile, or you get the guys who are just in the middle of that bell curve, and they're just guys. And they're not like elephant man. They're not like, they're not like guys who just are just never going to,
we're never going to score.
Not these guys.
We're never going to score.
All right. That's not those guys, but they're like kind of in the middle there. And that's really what monogamy is for those dudes. That's why it's to solve that reproductive problem. There is a existential crisis for men and women, which is we have a problem to solve in our lives, and that is to reproduce. How are we going to go about doing that? And I mentioned this in book 4. Actually, I kind of alluded to this in book 3, is we have what I call the reproductive problem. And that might sound clinical and, what's he talking about? I just want to get laid. Well, the reason you want to get laid is because you want to solve your reproductive problem. Even if you thwart it, even if you put a condom on, even if you have birth control, even if you're just getting a Hummer and not actually putting it in her, that desire to do that, the desire to go, I want to tap that. That's you want to solve your reproductive problem, because eventually what's sex for? I mean, the latent purpose of sex is to make babies, and eventually you want to be able to reproduce. That's the next to oxygen, food, water, and whatever. You can throw the esoteric, ephemeral meanings of life at me, but next to that, the next on the list is reproduction. In fact, I've read studies about how men, and males in particular, will prioritize mentally reproduction above even food. So it's like if you're going to starve to death, you get horny because you want to reproduce because you're going to die. It's like this existential thing. But I'll give you people are going to hit me up now in the comments. Oh, where is that? I'll link it for you. Gosh. And again, is it laid in stone? No. It's a theory, yes, but it kind of makes sense. I'm going to go with it. Put it that way. For now, I'll go with it. Got You Covered says, will COVID rules be co-opted by women as a hypergamous filter? They already are. Giving them an excuse to withhold intimacy from betas while continuing to hook up with alphas. Probably in some lame attempt, I would say. Well, COVID made me, I didn't know if you were going to be around, look like you're going to die, or I'm already seeing this. Like, even men can never get a break. And even just me saying that makes me sound like, oh, I think men are victims. There's a reason why you think that, but that's not what I'm saying. And I mean this in a social sense, is like, if you go and you look at UN Women on Twitter, every damn thing that's on there is like, well, COVID is just wreaking havoc on society. And although it's killing more men, women are most impacted. And even the vaccine that's been going around, like I've read at least 2 articles right now about there is a high possibility that whatever the vaccine is, whatever in the mRNA vaccine right now, could potentially sterilize men. I don't know how. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a biological engineer. I don't know anything about, other than my curiosity. I don't know anything about CRISPR or gene drives or anything like that. But I've read some things that say, well, they were suggesting that men get their sperm frozen before they take the vaccine. Well, if they're suggesting that, then maybe I'll take that part seriously. But you will still see those articles that are written about that say, well, women are most impacted. Like, first of all, I'm dying more. You're going to make me sterile. Testosterone levels are down because testosterone levels in COVID or whatever the article is. Anything. It's just like, got to keep a brother down, man. But at the same time, it's always, well, this is going to impact. It's like the Hillary Clinton thing, right? The chief victims of war are always women. What about the guys dying? What about the guys, going at it. Again, solipsism, there you go. Does it turn into narcissism? Yeah, it probably could, but that we start with solipsism, and that's how you get things that women don't even think about it. It's just like, well, of course it is. Of course. Let me see what else I have here for you. I'm trying to stay on top of these today. Got you covered, said that. Yeah. F Google says, with that I am God picture, Christianity failed a massive shit test. Yes, Christ will not save us. We need to learn how to save ourselves. Well, you're taking that the wrong way, because here, you can take that in a religious sense and say, well, we need to just buckle, put our nose to the grindstone and bear down and get her done, right? Yeah, we do. But the reason why you get stuff like this, and I'll put it back up here for you just because you guys are such fans of this. There we go. That's what he's referring to, just in case you came in late. The reason, like, why, how do we get to a society? How do we get to a gynocentric society where this is something that's even possible? I've seen other videos. There's probably a video of this somewhere. This is, I just have like hard pictures of these, but I've seen videos where feminine or some feminists, agitators, whatever you want to call them, have gone into mosques, and boy, they don't put up with that shit. They'll very, very rare. I think maybe that's why it's only on videos and stuff. But how do we get to a social order where that's even possible? How do we get to a social order where, I've seen videos of feminists, like raging feminist riots in Argentina, where they're setting like Catholic churches on fire. How do we get to that? How do we get to removing all buffers against women's sexuality? And of course, women's sexuality is their only real form of agency. How? Even feminists will take the clothes off to go and make a point. You would think, you would think that that would not be something that would, like, that impulse, that reflexive impulse would be something that is, I would say, repressed, let's say, by a feminist mindset. But I think the reflex is too strong. So in that case, do men need to be the ones that sort of take authority from women? Does that mean that we have to be the adult, right? While she is the teenager, she's the most mature teenager in the house. I think that past generations understood that, but we're afraid right now to step up and take that kind of authority. We're afraid to insist on that kind of stuff. I talk about that in book 4 as well, because I think it's endemic in most, certainly mainstream religions and most religions in general right now, is the men who are still left, the very few men that are still left in religions right now, would never dream, because they've been acculturated and raised in a secular sense, never dream of asserting authority, and certainly not masculine authority. They might like to couch that in, well, I am God's authority on this earth or whatever. That's okay, but it's not okay to say, I'm the man and this is how things are going to be. That's not okay. But it is okay for them to go, well, we got to let women, we want women in the clergy. We want to ordain, ministers and priests and whatever in Lutheran and Presbyterian and Episcopalian. Yeah, it starts there, and everybody's going to say, well, they're not real Christians. Well, yeah, maybe not, but I can point out other, like maybe by order of degree, incidences in pretty much every religion right now of where the feminine imperative, the gynocentrism, is assimilating those religions to the point where you get I am God girl jumping up on top of the altar. Isidore Calderon says beta males want tradcon monogamy the same way non-producers seek Marxism, a socially enforced equity of outcome to make up for an inability to compete. Yes. I would say that, and I'm glad you brought that up too, Isadora, because that's on part of my notes here. That's intrasexual combat. And when I look at, and I'm going to point fingers here too. When I look at doom pill guys and I look at MGTOW, like the more extreme end of MGTOW, certainly in the black pill communities right now, I see a lot of intrasexual conflict, combat. And what it is don't compete. Everybody leave the game, because if we all leave the game, then we're all special. Then women can't win. But that's not, the game is not about women winning or men winning. It's what man is going to win. So that's why, you want to know why people like doomers and black pillars get pissed off at me, is because when I talk about this kind of stuff and when I'm educating guys about this kind of stuff, it seems like, oh, well, you're a PUA, or you're teaching game. Like I just gave a suggestion about like who should teach game or who should be in game, or maybe I'll write a book about like why game works or why it should work. I just to answer that question, I think that there's a lot of guys right now. I'll say Troy Francis is a good one, Myron Gaines, all my guys on Rule Zero, right? Like John, those are good guys to learn game from. There's other guys too. Tom Torero is a good one. I would say Todd Valentine, but take him with a grain of salt. There's other guys out there. I don't know of any book that you're going to learn that from. And I think that the problem with that is if you're looking for a book to teach you game, you're kind of approaching it from the wrong angle. You need to get out and practice, and you need to see and understand why these things work. Game is learned by doing. It's not so much learned by reading. I can write you a book and tell you why this particular technique or why a neg hit ought to work or this ought to work. I can tell you that, but you don't understand it. You don't learn that until you go out there and you try it and you go, oh, okay, I get it. PUA is pick up artist, right? That it's not pick up science. It's pick up artistry. You have to learn what works for you as an artist. What is subjectively the best things for you to do? For some people, like playing to certain strengths is not going to work for, like playing to weaknesses, I should say, instead of their strengths is not going to work for them. So, however, let's see. I will say this. Gosh, man, today's just turned into Q&A, man. I had a whole thing set up for you. Now I'm almost 2 hours in, and you guys have just like bombarded me with these things. But intrasexual combat is very much so. Beta males in primate cultures, in apes and bonobos and chimps and everything, they will form coalitions to tear down the reigning alpha. And then what happens is, once they've managed to do that, if they get enough guys together, enough male apes, beta male apes together, that they can sort of beat down the alpha or run him off or whatever. It's not that oh, we're all going to leave the game and we're all just going to live in this nice egalitarian utopia. We're all going to live like hippies and free love. That doesn't happen, because from that group of beta male apes, the one that is the most alpha is the one that steps in and kicks their asses now. And that's human culture. You can translate that dynamic into so many different things. So you got the one guy he's the tyrant. We got to tear him down and bring him down and kill him, kick his ass, and da 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 da. Right? Oh, we got to depose Stalin. We got to take down Mussolini. We got to do this. We got to do that. And what happens after that is not like free love and utopia and egalitarian equalism. It's usually the guy who has the most balls is the one who steps in for that other guy, because that's just how we work. That's how it works. There's no utopia. There's no egalitarianism. It's always based on dominance hierarchies. That's what we do. That's how we are. And the longer we stay in this sort of feminized, emotionalized way of thinking about things, you're only opening the door for guys to step into that. I'm surprised we haven't had something a little bit more profound already with respect to like society and politics and gynocentrism for the last 50 years. So yeah, what you're saying is the same way non-producers seek Marxism. That's kind of part of that. Powerful men, alpha males seek out three things, right? It's they seek out unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. They want to be able to have a harem. Okay, they want to have many women for multiple opportunities of reproducing and spreading their seeds. Right? They want to have territory acquisition. So apes will do this too. We need to expand the territory, or expand it enough so that we can defend it and it's the beginnings of it's really the basis of tribalism, which is taking a territory, because with territory comes resources. So those are really kind of the three things that powerful alpha males are interested in. You can translate that into national politics. You can translate it into religion. You can translate that into pretty much damn near everything. And so when we say, well, we should be more socialist, we should be more communitarian, that's women's talk. That's what the women would do. The gathering, that's for berry pickers, right? That's for women who are raising the kids, and it takes a village to raise a child. Yeah, okay, well, that's because women had the sisterhood uberalis, which is an evolutionary dynamic, I should say, a social dynamic, but it's an evolutionary dynamic, in that we have women from all over. You're always on team woman. There's always a tribe of women. And now we're going to say, oh, well, we want to create a social order based on the tribe of women. That doesn't work for human beings, because women, first of all, they hate each other. And then second of all, they still want to compete. Women will intrasexually compete for the top male. That, of course, inspires men to compete with each other. So when you say, oh, you shouldn't be you're teaching guys to get girls, you shouldn't do that. You know what that is? That's a form of power. That's actually the 49th law of power, which is always de-emphasize the game, always demonize power, always say that there's something wrong with you for wanting to do what you want to do. You just go to the gym because you want to look hot for girls. That's why you do it. You're just a pussy beggar. You make it sound like that. Okay, well, how do I not be a pussy beggar? Well, you just give up and you just don't do anything. And you make women the focal point of your life. And you don't do this and you don't do that. And you exit the game, right? And if we all exited the game, then we'd all be special, right? And then we wouldn't have to compete. All you're doing is you're saying, I mean, they don't realize they're saying this, but all you're doing is promoting the same egalitarian, communitarian bullshit that you complain about in a gynocentric social order. You're just doing it from men's side. You're just taking the female model of the sisterhood and you're applying it to men, which it doesn't work because we're not built that way. And you don't understand that because you're a fucking idiot. Let's see. Film Stud 2000 LDR for 4 months. She texts me through week. She texts me through the week. I reply once a week. We video bi-weekly. I left her on read last week. Now I haven't heard from her in a week. There's a lot of weeks going on in this Film Stud. When do you have time to be a film stud when you're doing all this week by week by week? Longest since we started, not even during Christmas. Should I reach out now? Okay. You know what, Film Stud? Thank you for your input, because it reminded me that I have not done an episode on LDRs. LDR means long distance relationship. And long distance relationships are not relationships. They do not meet the criteria for a relationship. A real relationship is you seeing her, you banging her, and you having some sort of, daily, if not weekly, back and forth. If you're there and she's there, she's not with you. You're not in a relationship. Now, when I talk about LDRs, the most famous essay I have is called Letting Go of Invisible Friends. And the reason I titled it that was because, Phil, film stud, whatever, you have an invisible friend. You have a girl that we see each other and we're on video and we're doing this and we're long distance, but we're going to make it work. No, you're not. You couldn't do that in the age before the internet, and you're sure shit not going to do it in the age after the internet because she's on social media. Here's what you should do. Dump that bitch. Dump it. Get rid of it. Stop it. Stop it. Get help. You don't have a relationship with her. Dump her. Find somebody local. The reason why guys get really hooked, and women to a lesser degree, but the reason why guys get really hooked on LDRs is because they realize on some level of consciousness that they have no opportunity. You have no game. You have no options. So you go, okay, I'm going to make this work. As soon as I get enough money, I'm going to move out to wherever she is. I'm going to change my major and go to her college, and I'm going to live in her city, and we're going to get an apartment together, and we're going to live happily ever after. No, you're not. She's going to cheat. She's going to fuck somebody. She probably already is fucking somebody else. So stop it. Stop. If you are in an LDR, I would say an LDR is worse than having like a BPD girlfriend, because at least the BPD, you get hot monkey crazy sex. With the LDR, you don't get shit. You get nothing. You get, oh, I love you too. I love you. Okay, bye-bye. Especially if you're a young man, God forbid. Please, I don't know how old you are, film stud, 2K, whatever you do, please do not marry this girl. Do not pretend that you're ever going to marry this girl. The best thing you can do is spin plates. Learn game, spin plates, make money, make muscle, blah, blah, blah. Film stud. My question is more about the balance between being too available and not available enough. Okay. You're too available because you're in an LDR. That's what makes you too available, because she is your invisible friend. You're too available when she's not even there, because she's too available. You're too available right here. You're the one that's going, well, you wouldn't even send me this super chat for $20. You would not send me that if she wasn't living in your head rent free all the time. And the reason for that is because you have a scarcity mentality, because you think that she's the only option for you and she's the only thing that's left for you. Okay. Yes, of course it's about, oh, well, I don't want to be too available. For what? You're not there. If you were like right there, Johnny, on the spot, we might have a conversation, but you're not. You have an LDR and you don't have a real relationship. You have an invisible friend. Let go of your invisible friend. And let's see. LW says, finally made it for a live stream. Thank you for connecting the dots, Rollo. You are welcome. I will read that for you, even though it's not a super chat, but it's still, I'm glad you made it. Throwaway. What did you have to say, throwaway? Oops, damn it. I almost had you there for a second. Sorry, throwaway. I had you on there for a minute, but now I lost you. I still have it though. Here, let me read it. The only problem with the red pill is once you see it, you can't turn it off. That's why they call it the red pill lens. Thank you for the amazing year, Rollo. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too, my friend, Throwaway 8080. Wando, why not a collab book with active Rule Zero guys? I'm not going to say it's an impossibility. It's just that we kind of have our own like niches, I guess. I don't know what I would write with Ryan. I would have to be topical. I think I would do it. I'm considering doing a collab with a friend of mine, this guy, Alex Kelly, who I'm considering doing a collab with. But it's a topical thing. So I think it's not so much like, oh, why don't you go do with these guys? It's not them as authors. It's like, what do they know that we can collaborate on? So that would be more, I'm more of an ideas guy, as you probably know. I'm not a sales guy, although I can market and I can brand and I've been doing it for a long time, but I understand I understand how having something of value, having some content of value, having something that's going to sort of benefit people over the course of their lives is more, I guess, artistically satisfying to me. Because when I did book one, I'll give you an example. The reason why since book one, I have always insisted on controlling the look of my books, the interior of my books. I didn't just write my books and go, okay, just hand it off to some graphic designer. I'm already a designer. I've been an art director for a long time. I've been a creative for a long time. I've been brand management for more liquor brands than I care to remember. I've been a photo editor. I've been a video editor. I've been a web editor. I've worn a lot of hats, and I've always been the ideas guy. And I've always cared about what it is that I'm putting out there and I'm producing. People ask me, well, how come you haven't done a course like body language mastery? Well, I'm not saying it's out of the question. I might, but it would be something that I would have to put a lot of time into, and I would have to be really kind of emotionally invested and also like intellectually invested, if that makes sense. And so when I do my books, I do all the layout for my books. I do all the covers for my books. And if you want to see book cover 4, you have to be a Patreon member right now. Of course, somebody's going to copy it, I'm very particular, and I don't mean like I'm not so much a perfectionist. It's just that I want to know that what you're getting in your hand is going to be the best thing, because I'm concerned with that, man. I mean, Rich always says, you know, like, oh, well, you know, if it puts you out for $9.99, then you probably shouldn't be buying books anyways. Well, okay, I can understand the logic, but I still have always tried to keep my books price wise, you know, accessible at the very least. I mean, I charge the least I can charge for book one. I do, because I want people to have the information, and I think that I'm proud of it, and I like the book, right? It's my first book. I probably need to do a second. I'm going to do a second edition of it. I'm going to do a hardcover version of book one. I might do hardcovers of other books, but book one will be the one that I sort of test the waters with. So just so you guys know that that's in the works too. Translations, yes, are definitely coming soon too. But I'm always been more of like ideas. I want to talk about ideas and like hash things out, I guess. And the only way I can do that is if I can present things right. I want to have good content. I want to have good ideas. I think marketing and sales and all this other stuff is important, but I think having a good, you got to have some like meat, right? I mean, it's like sell the steak or sell the sizzle, not the steak. Well, you still got to have a good steak. So I like to think I make good steak. What else? I guess we're just doing Q&A today, guys, because now we're past the 2-hour mark. Well, I got a couple other things I want to talk about. Let's see. That's pretty casual today. Nathaniel, you've been here before. Hi, Rollo. Finished your 3 books. Oh, this is you. Sorry, my bad. There we go. Hi, Rollo. Finished your 3 books in a week. All 3 in a week? You're killing me, man. You know, it's funny. Well, I'll come back to that. Hold on. I'm going to hold that thought for 1 second here. In a week, in one word, amazing. I found it much easier to bang and connect emotionally to 30-plus-year-old women without content or context. Can you help me know why? I'm 27. Yeah, I can actually tell you why. You're 6'7", or you're 6 meters, 6.7 meter. Man, you'd be really So let me finish that thought that I was saying. Is I'm back on was it on Rule Zero? Aaron Clary was saying, "Oh man, Rollo's books are really thick because they're hard to get through and it's hard to read." And now I have Nathaniel here saying he read all 3 of my books in 1 week. So eat it, Aaron, Captain, Cappy. So why is it that you haven't? Okay, so you're banging and connect emotionally. Okay, are you really connecting emotionally? Women between the ages of 29 and 31 are definitely, let's say, incentivized to want to get with a guy who's 27 some odd years old, because they're hoping you're young and dumb and full of cum, right? They hope you're stupid. They hope you're still blue pill, because between the ages of 29 and 31 is what I call the epiphany phase. If you've read all 3 of my books in 1 week, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So generally, women in that age bracket are motivated buyers. They want to get with you. So like, use caution. I don't care if you're athletic. I don't care if you're 6. Okay, well, great, right? Maybe the cougars want to bang you. That's not hard to figure out. What's hard to figure out is making decisions and keeping women at arm's distance, particularly at this age, because you're 27. You haven't even really begun your inclination to your sexual market value peak yet. So yeah, I'm sure they're very interested in you because they have to. What about women who are 23, 24? Do you have any trouble connecting with them? Do you have any trouble banging 23, 24, 25-year-old girls? Probably more than you do for women who are in their 30s. Royce had this really great essay one time, and you can probably find it in the archives because I know that the old blog is gone, but he had this one essay that it was called The Difficulty of Gaming Women by Age. And the demographic you're talking about right now, the 30 plus demographic, is actually the easiest age to game women in because they're motivated. They're motivated buyers. They have to these are women who have already kind of aged out of their prime years anyways, of this sexual marketplace. And so they want to consolidate. These are simple, like, sexual marketplace economics. This is it. So yeah, of course they do. You probably don't have any woman who's like, oh, I want to settle down, and she's 24. Oh, of course not. She's at the peak of her agency. She don't care about your 27-year-old ass. Maybe she wants to bang you, but she certainly doesn't want to connect with you emotionally. Of course they do. Of course they do. So watch out, beware, be on your guard, and don't catch feelings. Spin plates. Don't catch feelings. Until you're 33, 34, 35, and then make better judgment calls. Alpha Male says, what do you think about the MGTOW argument of having mommy issues? The desire for a woman's touch as some kind of social conditioning problem, like mother gave you too much affection in your young days, so you need female affection. Okay. Let's say this. I don't think it's necessarily mommy issues, but you have to look at the science of kinesiology, right? Kino. It's funny how this is like brought up by MGTOWs, but MGTOWs, you're basically quoting old school mystery method, because mystery talked about Kino all the time. And this is where it finds those roots. So congratulations, MGTOWs. You're now quoting PUAs, or you are bringing up ideas that were originated by those horrible pickup artists, those leisure suit Larrys. So let's talk about Kino for a second. Touch is very important. So let's look at a few things when it comes to human touch and affection and things like that. If you go, and lots of studies on this, I don't think this is anything shocking or revelatory to anybody, but like in NICU units, like in OBGYN and the newborn babies, NICU, maybe you don't know that in the country. Anyways, so like in the maternity wards, right? The nurses the NICU nurses are supposed to pick up the babies and hug the babies and hold the babies, because the babies that have, and this is before the mom and dad take them home or whatever, they're in the little French fry warmer or whatever it is. The babies that are touched and hugged and loved on and everything else are going to thrive, because it creates positive, feelings, of course, but it's also, it releases endorphins. It helps the baby become I think it helps the immunities of it too. I'm not really sure. That might be, I think I remember reading something about that, but there's certainly a biochemical aspect of Kino. Kino means touch, whatever kind of thing. And we do this all the time. I think we're less encouraged to do so now. And I think that's kind of a tragedy, because if you look at certain cultures, like when I go over to Holland, or when I've been to Holland to visit the distilleries and stuff that's out there for some of the brands that I work with, their greeting is to kiss you on either side of the cheek. And when you're an American, you're like, and then you get, oh, okay, cool. That's how you are, right? When I go to Panama, when I'm down in Panama and I have to deal with the people for different liquor brands down there, they have a different culture there. So it's like their personal space is a little bit different. I find the women down there, young and old, are very touchy feely. They want to express to make a point. They'll touch you, kind of thing. Or did you know? And maybe not so much with the guys, but certainly amongst each other. But it's always this touch. It's always did you know this? Did you know that? And maybe it's a cultural thing, because in the United States, if a guy did something like that, the woman would call HR if she didn't think if he wasn't hot, right? If he wasn't a sexual interest. It's not or gay men, like more effeminate, flamboyantly gay men, will do something it's almost like a female kind of thing, where it's like this touch. It's like you're emphasizing your points. You're communicating with Kino at the same time. So bear that in mind. Also, last but not least is and I know this firsthand, when there are elderly people and they're in an assisted living facility, or they're somewhere and they're frail and they're infirm or whatever, they're like, the last few years of their lives, the only thing they really want is to be hugged and kissed. And that's what was really tough with my mom dying, is I wasn't able there to even touch her or hug her. The last time I hugged or kissed my mom was March 12th of 2020. And then she died in December 3rd. And that was the hardest thing for me to accept, was that I was never going to be able to see my mom face to face, because I spent, the better part of this year talking to my mom outside of a screen a window screen, right? And trying to be as, as supportive and and we would put our hands together on the screen and all this other stuff, and all that, Lifetime Hallmark movies. But that was really tough on me, but it was tougher on her because she's used to me hugging on her. She's used to me kissing on her. She's used to me because I know that. I know how important touch is. And again, same way with the little babies, that does the same thing to human beings. Like when you hug somebody, it releases endorphins. It's stress relief. Same with sex, really. I mean, if you have sex with somebody, it's like there's a stress relief that goes along with that. But it's the same thing when you hug somebody or whatever. So is it mommy issues? I don't think so. I think that when doomers want to talk about, the reason why you want to touch, or what, I hope I'm saying this right. I'm going to put this back up there again. So I don't want to misquote you here, because it says, what do you think about the MGTOW argument of having mommy issues, the desire for a woman's touch, as some kind of social conditioning problem? I don't think it's social conditioning. I think it's a human thing. I think it's if you look at monkeys, you look at chimps. I saw this one video of like two chimps that were separated. They were a brother and a sister, or a brother and a brother, or something like that. They're related, biologically related chimps. They recognize each other, and their immediate response when they're brought back together, when they've been separated, is to come together and hug each other. So don't give me this bullshit about, oh, it's social conditioning, or mommy didn't give you enough affection or too much affection, right? Mother gave you too much affection in your young days, so you need female affection. No, you need affection, period. Sorry, that's a human thing. And I'm not trying to be like all liberally touchy-feely bullshit. I'm saying that is a biological need. So I'll answer that question with another question. I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I will anyways. What happens when you don't get that? Hell, my dogs like to be hugged. My dogs like to be, they like to have affection. My Ned, I'd be laying on the bed reading your stupid comments on Twitter on my iPad, and Ned jumps on the bed just so he can snuggle up with me, right? Snuggle, that's a word. Look that up. But he wants touch. He wants to hug. He wants to run. He wants to play. He wants to, there's that. It's not just social conditioning. Mommy touched you too much, so that's why you want it. No, it's not. It's just what freaking people want. And if you had any social understanding, if you weren't like borderline autistic, you would know that. So it's like, why are you here? Here's the question to answer the question is, first of all, what happens when you're denied that for so long? How does that affect you psychologically and emotionally, and just like even physiologically? How does that affect you? We already know that babies don't thrive when they're not picked up and touched. We already know that old people don't thrive because whatever the endorphins are, or whatever it is, the biochemical response of having touch or hugging somebody, how does that affect you psychologically in the long term if you don't have that? You want to know why people are offing themselves in COVID time is because, you're isolated. It's not just, I can talk to you. We can speak. I talked to my mom through the goddamn screen window for a long time. That's great. I mean, it shows support and I love you, but it's not touching. It's not hugging. It's not because, social society conditioned me to want to do this. Bullshit. Monkeys want to do that. Even little macaque monkeys want to do that. Not just silverback gorillas. Pretty much all their touch, kino is a thing. It's a thing because it's a biological thing. So don't give me this crap about that. And then, so what is it about touch that makes, what is it about kino? Let's just say, what is it about that they don't understand, that they have to say, well, it's a social thing? Because again, here we are, MGTOW, doom pill, black pill, whatever, doomers. Let's just call them doomers. Doomers want to make you feel bad for wanting touch, for wanting kino. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, you need it to thrive. I think maybe on some level of consciousness they realize that, but the idea that you're going to say, well, you don't really need that. Bullshit. No, you do. Even if it's just a dog. Shit, even turd-flinging monkey was saying, like, you get a dog, have a sex doll, but you need a dog, or you need something that's sort of like to, have that kind of connection. You want to know why women obsess over little animals and little dogs and things like that? It's exactly this. Like if you got a one, I've known enough of them. They got this little pookie, right? Little dog, and they dress it up in a tutu and they, celebrate its birthday and they go put it in your face and go, isn't she cute? And I've known old women who will obsess over their dogs and they will completely ignore their husbands because they don't really want to be married to their husbands, but they still want to feel like they can love something. And that's why they obsess over dogs or cats, little dogs usually, or cats. Why do we have this stereotype of the spinster that is the box wine? And like that one thumbnail I just showed you about 3 weeks ago. Cover of the New Yorker. Why is it well, we laugh, right? Oh, box wine and cat toys or cat food in the grocery aisle. It looks like the single, never married woman's aisle. Ha ha ha. Well, okay, funny, but why? Because they want that little cat. They want that. Why did I call them a cat lady? Well, because they want to have something, touch, right? Hug, kiss, love. It should be with another human being. But we're so fucked up in the head. And I don't just mean doomers in this case. I mean like the women plus doomers plus, we are so disconnected from each other when it comes to like touch and everything else. We're scared shitless. Women in particular, because they think that if they show any kind of emotion or they show any kind of kino to a guy, that he's going to take it the wrong way and think that she wants to bang him. Okay, I get it, because we have come this far to the point where that's conflated with sexual interest. Like this is just that sexual interest or emphasizing something. Have you ever seen Puerto Ricans talk on the phone? I know I have, and Cubans too. Maybe this is a Latin culture thing, but Puerto Ricans and Cubans, I think even like Dominican Republic, right? Like that area. When they're on the phone, they're like, their voices are really raised and they're like gesticulating and it's like no one's even there to see them. They're just on the phone. They go, ah, la, 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 and they're talking on the phone, and you think, oh my God, something's wrong. No, they're just talking to their cousin or whoever. That's just how they do it. But it's this gesticulation. It's speaking with your hands and speaking with your voice, and it's like raising your voice. Like, why is that different? If you see them together with their families or their moms or the girls that they want to get with, I mean, the level, the difference in kino, the difference in like what is acceptable touch, what is acceptable like distance, like conversation distance, as opposed to like for Americans, and if you've ever been to the United States and then you've gone to like South America or Panama, whatever, you've gone to like Europe and stuff, you'll understand what I'm talking about. There's that difference in cultural thing. But I think that the fact that you don't understand that speaks volumes, doomers. It speaks volumes that you would think that. Oh, well, we just got to say, why? Is that the next step? Like, oh, we're going to leave the game. Okay, well, no, we're going to shame all the guys who think the way we do for wanting to get touched. Fuck you. All right, let me keep going. Facundo. What can men do if we're going to be more oppressed, censored, incarcerated, have our resources and authority taken, seclude in caves? No. Or talk about the red pill? No. You've got to go out and do something. And I have been a little more active in that recently. It's very easy. I think one of the things that we do, Facundo, and this is just social people in general, is I think that sitting behind this iMac, sitting behind this screen, typing my next blog post, which I'm going to start doing very soon. Guys, bloggies, my friends, my readers. I'll be getting back to the blog finally, because now I'm done with the book. So, but I think we have some sort of, we're gonna make a mark on the world, right? We're gonna be a voice for change. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna make a hashtag. That's nothing. I say what you want to about Antifa, say what you want to about the riots, to say what you want to about BLM. They're out there. They're out there doing something. They're not making well, maybe they are making hashtags, but they're out there doing something. I'm not saying I agree with what they're doing, but at least their means, you see them out there. People won't make changes until they're kicked in the ass, until the lights go off. until they get cold, until the air conditioning doesn't work, right? Until the heater doesn't work, until the food's not coming, until Uber Eats doesn't deliver anymore. You know, I hate to say it, but people have to get pushed into, they have to be motivated, of course, but they have to be pushed into action. And maybe that's going to happen because right now, at the rate things are going, I can only speak for the United States right now, but the rate things are going, things are getting really weird, really quick right now. And I don't see things, something's going to happen soon, very soon. And it ain't going to be pretty. People keep saying, oh, we're going to be in a civil war. Well, that would require people to get off their asses and actually go out there and load their guns. Most people don't even want to do that. They can't be bothered to do that. They think that they're doing something right here sitting down. So that's from a social situation. What are you going to do to take back authority, masculine authority, in a intersexual dynamics context? Well, first of all, you can just simply not put up with shit. That's the easiest way. Now, you don't have to be, you can play the game if you want. You know, I'm not saying appeal to women's reason. I'm just saying that you have to, in some way, change something about yourself, because you're not going to change anyone's behavior. They have to, you know, they say, you know, you can't change anyone's behavior but your own. You still have to change your own behavior. And that, hopefully that prompts other people. People have asked me this before. They'll say, well, Rollo, you say that genuine desire cannot be negotiated, right? Right. Okay. Well, how do you get genuine desire then, right? How do you get it? How do you prompt it, right? Well, one answer to that question is like, some guys will say, well, you can't, or you have to just be hot, or she just has to be into you, or there just has to be there. It's just like some magical, you know, inspiration that she wants to get with you, or you want to get with her, or whatever. And that's not necessarily true. So it is to an extent, but I would say it's more true that you can not so inspire it, but you can lead a woman to put her into a position where natural, genuine desire can occur. So that's why I'm a proponent of game, because guys say, well, I will say this to me. Well, if attraction is not a choice, or if you can't negotiate desire, then what good is game? Well, because what game does is it puts you in the best possible position to generate naturally, organically, genuine, innate, natural desire. You can, I learned this in graphic design. I learned this, you can serve up an ad, or you can serve up a product on a silver platter and make it look as beautiful and wonderful as ever, or you can serve it up on a dirty trash can lid. What works better? Right? It's the same principle. It's like, what can you play to your strengths, but you still gotta know what you're talking about. You still have to be game savvy, if nothing else. Even if you're a doomer and you don't want to have anything to do with the red pill, a pickup artist, or whatever, you still owe it to yourself to know the game. You still can't be stupid. You still can't be. You can't not be game savvy. And they'll like to say, well, I know what that game stuff is all about. It doesn't work for me. Okay, well, but you know about it. And you know why it should work. If it doesn't work for you, then you probably know why it should work for somebody else, or why it did work for somebody else. Maybe that's what's frustrating you. Now I'm starting to lose my voice, so I'm not going to go too much longer. Rollo, is it a common strategy to abuse lower level men to boost your appeal? Isaiah, I wrote a series of 2 posts about this. It's called The Utility of Beta Men. And we do this kind of instinctively, I think, as guys, because men think in terms of meritocracy and respectability. So we want to play to our strengths. And one of the best ways that we know how to play to our strengths is to outshine the other guy. If you've ever read 48 Laws of Power, the first law of power is never outshine the master. Now, that presumes that the master is somebody who has authority and power over you. So, of course, you don't want to do that. If that person doesn't, then is it okay to outshine that person? Or are you going to outshine that person automatically just because that person is mediocre and all you have to do is let them be an idiot and you look like you have superpowers? So sometimes I think it's like, oh, well, abuse lower level men. Well, how so? Like, abuse them as in what way? Because I think that a lot of the things that we consider abuse is just a guy playing to his natural talents that you don't have. I am going to get abused on an NBA basketball court because I'm 5'11" and I haven't played basketball since high school. Am I getting abused or am I getting outshined, or should I just not be on the basketball court in the first place, pretending to be something I'm not, right? So what is abuse? I think that whenever I talk about amogging, maybe I should do a video on amogging. Whenever I do a video or I do any kind of talk on amogging, it's the same principle, because guys think that if you in any way outshine another guy, that you're abusing him. That's bullying. It's hazing, right? If you give a guy shit, like guys shit test guys all the time. They just do it in a different way for a different reason. But we do. It's like a fitness test. It's like a reliability test. It's like, do you have my back if the shit hits the fan kind of test. But more and more, because men do not understand other men. They don't understand how to relate with men because we're disincentivized to learn so, or to be socialized that way. Because of that, we think of abuse as something as being, you're just outgunned, you're outclassed. You don't even have to be, you could just be in the same room and you're outclassed. Your presence will make you outclassed. So is it abuse? I don't know. Is a common strategy, though. I don't know if it's so much a strategy as it is just something that's a natural occurrence, but you can use beta blue pill men who don't get it. If you're a guy who's game savvy and you don't care, and most don't, it's not hard to use beta men as a springboard to generate genuine desire. I was saying before the idea that you can use the common idea. You can use female empowerment as a springboard for what's called a boyfriend destroyer script. And the boyfriend destroyer script is like an old PUA tactic, but it taps into women's sense of self, or women's acculturated sense of self, meaning that. So I'll give you an example of a boyfriend destroyer. So a woman gives you you're talking with a girl that you want to, you're sarging a girl, right? You're in an approach, and the girl drops what's called the boyfriend disclaimer. Boyfriend disclaimer is, well, me and my boyfriend, this, da, 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 da. When women don't casually drop in the boyfriend unless they want you to get the message that she has a boyfriend, right? What that is the casual, it's, I want to say it was Mystery that came up with the term, but it was the boyfriend disclaimer. So whenever in a casual conversation, a hot girl or a girl that you're trying to get with drops the idea, the innuendo, let's just say that she has a boyfriend, or her boyfriend said this, or she can't do something because of a boyfriend, that's the boyfriend disclaimer. It's meant for you to get the message that she has a boyfriend and you should stop your sarge and you should back up off. Now, depending on the situation, depending on your read of the situation, it could mean that she's just trying to, she is attracted to you, she is hot for you, but there's something in the back of her hindbrain that is sort of preventing her from wanting to cheat on the boyfriend or wanting to pursue it any further. And so therefore she's dropping this so you will stop. And it's a recognition, it's a tacit recognition that you are in a sarge, or that you are trying to get with her. So the illustration is this, is like you say, hey, well, let's go get some coffee, right? Let's go get some coffee and talk. And the woman says, well, my boyfriend doesn't like me to go have coffee with, or I can't do that. I have a boyfriend, or something like that. And then the boyfriend destroyer is, well, your boyfriend won't let you have coffee. And what that is it's a challenge to that woman's ego. Like, how bad do you want, first of all, it presents this idea that I'm confident enough to push past the idea that you have a boyfriend. I don't really care if you have a boyfriend. Let's go have coffee. Let's go talk. All right. She's dropping the disclaimer because she knows you want to get with her. She wants that this is not just a casual conversation. And so you say, hey, well, your boyfriend won't let you get coffee, right? Well, what do you mean? That kind of stuff. And so what it is, and it seems kind of really stupid, but it's like the way that you deliver it, but it's also the idea that in doing so, you are questioning the boyfriend's security as a man, right? Well, he won't what? He won't let you. Who has the authority in your relationship? That plays to the gynocentric social order. She should be the one calling the shots. In a gynocentric social order, women should always have frame. That's the default, is women always have frame. And when they meet a guy who pushes past that or questions that frame, that shakes them up. Then you become somebody that they want to sort of get to know, or you become the purple cow. You become the cow that's in the field of brown cows. And it's like, why does a neg hit work? Why does, hey, why don't you buy me a drink? Kind of thing. Any of the old, you think of the stupidest PUA technique you can think of, and it plays in on some deeper psychological dynamic or sociological dynamic. How to claim more authority with my parents? Do it. With a wife, my sister, church, etc. Is there a way that is not a violent way? There are ways where you can just simply be uncompromising. So if you don't want, I'm not saying you have to go and beat everybody up and say, screw it, I'm the man now. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is you need to be uncompromising and insisting that things go your way. Because most men, and this, Matthias, this goes back to mental point of origin. Most men are taught to make other people, and usually women, but make other people their mental point of origin, which means whenever there's a decision, whenever there's a move to be made, whenever there's something to be done, whenever something, especially big changes, but it can be little changes too, but whenever there is a decision to be made or a consideration to be made, it always begins with someone else, not themselves. That you want to know where the basis of authority comes from for men? It's making yourself your own mental point of origin. That's how you start with it. And then from there, you need to be uncompromising. You need to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. That's not in my best interest. That's not me. What is it? More authority with your parents. What do they want you to do? Well, how are they exercising authority over you? Analyze that first, figure out what that is, and then say no. Sometimes reclaiming authority is just as simple as saying, nope, not going to do that. Not going to make that change. Not going to do that for you. Oh, what about me? What about? No, I don't do that. Men shouldn't do that. You might even want to add that in there, right? No, because men don't do that. What do you mean men don't do that? That's why you're insecure. No. And you will get pushback, and you'll get people who will try to turn you in. Oh, you're being something you're not. No, I'm reclaiming authority, and this is the way it is. Be uncompromising. See how far that gets you too. Like, don't be a freak. Like most guys think that, well, compromise gets me this far. If I'm just a complete doormat, then I'll be in really good shape. Bullshit. No, you won't. You'll be a doormat. So reclaiming authority begins usually by saying no and being uncompromising about things. Directing your own path. Again, power is not about controlling or having or beating down people or that's not about power. Power is the amount of control you have over the direction of your life. If you don't have that as a result of not having authority over your life, then you need to find a way to make sure that you do. And then hopefully people are on board with your ideas and they're good ideas, and you get together and reclaim authority in some way. I think that if you want to reclaim authority, it can't be given to you. You can't go to your mom and dad, or you can't go to your sisters or your church. You can't go to women and go, please, may I have some authority, please? That doesn't happen. Because if they give it to you, that implies that they're the authority and they're giving you, oh, okay, here's a little bit of authority. No, authority has to be taken, has to be asserted and taken. And sometimes the best way and the only way to do that is just simply say, no, I'm not going to do that. Fuck that. A man doesn't do that. And I'm a man. You're a man? Yes, I'm a man. Jandal says, what do you think of guys that allow other men on the bedroom? On the bedroom? You think that situation is doomed to fail? Yes, because any guy that's going to do that is any guy who thinks that poly is a good idea or wants to have some dude come in and rail his wife, or she can go out and bang whoever. You know what you're doing? You're going against your biological imperatives. You are accepting, you know what you're doing is you're eroticizing your existential fear, which is cuckoldry. That's the first thing anybody who's into poly will tell you is you got to eroticize your jealousy instinct. Well, great. But the reason that you have that jealousy instinct is because every guy that came before you, your father, your grandfather, your great grandfather, all your ancestors, they had that. And it led them down the right path. And that's why you are jealous too, because it had a function. And you're going to go, no, it's great. I want to jerk off to this jealousy. It's awesome. Right? Oh, go and bang my wife. Yeah. Well, you do that often enough, you get past that natural revulsion response. And that's when you have hit your last freaking brain cell. You can make anything normal if you can get past the human revulsion response. You can get people who like to get into like playing with shit, man. You can get into anything. You name the most heinous, atrocious thing you can think of for like that human beings can engage in, bestiality or whatever. You think of the worst thing that you think is the most revolting thing that you can think of that people do. I will show you a person who has made that, who has either psychologically damaged enough, or they've conditioned themselves enough to push past that innate revulsion response so they can get off on something that is just completely like disgusting, or something that is maybe it's unsanitary, maybe like necrophilia, right? Why on earth would you ever want like to get it with dead people, right? Well, something you thought of pushed you past that. Something conditioned you to feel normal about that particular thing. Yeah, I'm not going to mention some of the other things that I'm sure you're probably already making these connections to, but you get a human being, condition a human being past the revulsion response, the innate, evolved, natural revulsion response to whatever the stimulus is. I don't know what it is. And you can make the most atrocious things in the world be as normal as pumpkin pie. Can you discuss persistence? Is it relevant? Irrelevant? No. In fact, I would say persistence in what? Like persistence in getting with a girl? I think that persistence, okay, you can take this two different ways. I think I know the way that you're applying this, Abdul. Persistence is like sticking with it, right? Like, oh, I want him to chase. Well, if you're chasing, whose frame are you in? If you have to be persistent about like getting the girl to like come on, you know, I've seen these stories where guys are very proud of themselves too. They're like, well, my wife, she told me to go pound salt first and she wouldn't have anything to do with me. But then when we were 30 and she'd had all her fun in college, then she finally saw the light that I was the perfect guy. And we got married, had kids, and lived happily ever after. Because I was persistent. Don't stop believing, baby. And they're very proud of that persistence. They don't see, they're very proud of the persistence. Like I know guys who have proposed to women who have turned them down. And then something happened in their lives. Maybe they got a really good job, or they made a lot of money, or maybe they lost 10 pounds. Maybe they became an amateur circuit bodybuilder, whatever. They had something changed for the positive that made him more appealing. And the second time he asked, like an idiot, they said yes. And now they're married to him. They have kids and are locked in and blah, blah, blah. But she said no the first time because there's no genuine desire there. You want to talk about innate opportunism and solipsism and all that good stuff we've been talking about earlier? There you go. Would you do that? Maybe I should put that out there pose that to the, excuse me, the commentariat. Would you ask a girl out later? Would you even ask her out? Would you propose to a woman that turned you down the first time? Would you do it a second time? And if so, is that persistence? Because I don't think it is. I think that's just sort of scarcity mentality, and it's the one. However, so let's talk about persistence in other things, though. I've talked about how PUA or game or whatever is not a numbers game so much, and I'm not saying it isn't, but it's not so much a numbers game as it is a consistency, a persistence game. And that doesn't mean keep going out and spamming approaches. That doesn't mean, just stick with it until it works. I'm not saying that. I mean it in terms of Like, you can have these guys, and of course, this is what doomers will always say. Well, you know, you can go out and ask 1,000 women to go out with you, and if only 2 of them say yes, well, what does that, your return on investment or whatever? It's such a waste of time, man. Game doesn't work. Fuck this. It's not a numbers game. It's a persistence game. I would tell you this, like Myron might tell you, like, go out and spam approaches and maximize, like you got to be your own brand. And I understand the logic in that. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. You know, do whatever. But I would say this is the reason why guys opt out of PUA, or they opt out of game, or they want to, you know, beat themselves up because they failed too much, is because they tried doing that and they got hammered flat because every approach they made of them, assuming they even did it, but every approach they made, they got rejected. It's not about numbers so much as it's about consistency. So here's what I say. I would say this is go out and make one approach every Friday. New girl every Friday, new location, whatever. Make one approach every Friday. And odds are you're probably going to get shot down. Like if you're just average, if you're just the average dude, if you're one of the 80%ers, you're probably going to get shot down. I mean, maximize it. Learn game, be witty, be smart, be funny, but whatever, you know. Learn how to learn women's nature, be red pill aware, learn social skills most guys don't have. Learn those skills, you know, learn how to be, you know, carry on a conversation. Go to improvisational theater. Go do that, but do it once a week. Do it on a Friday, Saturday, whatever, whenever you can, whatever is the best time to you. But commit to this. Here's your New Year's resolution. One approach a week. And this time next year, you'll have made 52 approaches. And assuming none of them are you know, it's follow-upable or whatever, it's assuming you get blown out even 52 times. But I'm not saying do 1,000 approaches. I'm saying doing 52 over the course of a year. 52 approaches for most men is more than they will make in their entire lifetime, because they don't have the skills, and they don't have the will, and they don't have the commitment to it, and they don't have the persistence to it. It's like going to the gym. Like, well, when they say, you know, you just get to the gym, even a half an hour workout or like a 15-minute workout, at least you got there because you're developing the habit of doing it. I mean, are you going to be a bodybuilder after that? No, probably not. But you're in the consistency and the habit of going and doing that, and you're creating new neural pathways because this is what you do. Oh, on Tuesday I go here. On Wednesday it's leg day. On Thursday it's chest day, the most glorious day of the week. Size of the prize, cold as a goal. It's gains o'clock, motherfucker. Let's go. And you get into it, right? So you have a habit. That's how you develop a habit. It's persistence. And after a while, you know, like I said, I'm only asking one approach a week. And it has to be a new girl. It can't be the same girl over and over. In fact, don't do it on the same girl over and over again. So so persistence from that perspective makes sense. Persistence in, I'm going to keep asking this girl out until I'm going to wear her down. How great is that? You tell your kids, yeah, finally wore your mom down. And she's banging guys in her college, and you guess you'll do. Come here, let's get married. I don't want that as my legacy. I don't know, maybe you're different. Boy, what else do I have here? I'm going to go pretty soon, guys, so don't give me any more. I'm trying to get to all of these. I didn't want to do an ask anything, but that's what we've developed into, so I apologize. I'll save this for another day. Oh man, it hurts to hear Rollo say, this is J.A. Brown says, it hurts to hear Rollo say all of this, but it's all true. It actually hurts because it's true. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hurt, but the truth will set you free, but it doesn't mean that you don't have any responsibility. And it doesn't mean it's going to make your life easier. And it doesn't mean there's no liability or responsibility that comes with the truth. Would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? Isidore Calderon says, black pill comes from staying in the red pill rage phase too long. How long is too long to stay in that stage? And how would you advise men to move on? Well, I would say this is there's no such thing as the black pill. No such thing as the black pill. There's only the red pill and there's only a blue pill and the red pill, right? There's you abandoning your old way of thinking and your old way of life and your old behaviors and your old habits and your the things. There's abandoning the old information that was either deliberately or maybe mistakenly used by you to create who you are, your personality, your life, the goals and the things that you thought were worth pursuing. There's your blue pill conditioning. You've transitioned over into the red pill way of thinking. There's no going back. There's no, I just answered that a second ago. There's no going back. You're not going back to your old way of thinking. But you, way of thinking, way of seeing the world anyways. You can certainly go back to that old way of thinking because lots of guys do. There's certainly a purple pill because guys go and they become red pill aware and they think that they can use red pill awareness to achieve blue pill ideals. So I can get the white picket fence and the golden retriever and a wife and 2 kids, and all I got to do is be red pill and man up. And tradcons think that all the time, and then they get their asses handed to them in divorce court. So seeing things from a red pill perspective is, I was just saying, what did J.A. Brown just said? It hurts to hear. Yeah, of course it does. It's the abyss. There is no black pill. There's guys who can't cross over and use the red pill in a way that they can make a better life for themselves by having red pill awareness. So it's like rather than seeing the opportunity and the potential in a red pill paradigm, they would rather go, oh man, all that blue pill stuff is never going to happen for me. Because I just saw the red pill and this is hypergamy and this is the soulmate and this is the 99 rules of TOMASSI. It's never going to work for me. Why are you upset? Why are you despondent? Why are you nihilistic? Why are you depressed? Why are you crying? Why are you angry? Why are you creating 6-8 hour freaking live streams every Saturday night because you got nothing else better to do but complain and commiserate with your friends? Why are you doing that? Why does that seem like a great use of your time? Because you can't get away from the blue pill. You can't get away from. You want to know what is it? Who was? I think it was it Carl? Maybe it was Carl from Black Label Logic said this. If you scratch away long enough at the black pill, you'll see the blue pill right underneath it, because that's all it is. It's an inability to abandon those old ways of thinking, to abandon those old goals. Because the reason why you get upset and you get hopeless and despondent and nihilistic is because you still think that those things should be possible. You still think that the blue pill, all the lies and all the crap that you used to believe in all the Disney Pixar movies and all that shit, all that idealistic romanticism, all that stuff that you thought was so, I'll be happy when I get that. I'll be happy when I'm there. I'll be happy when I find the one. Oh, you're the only girl for me, blah, 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 blah. And you don't realize that the reason why you even think that is because you're optionless and you're beta and you're 80%, you're one of the 80%ers and you default to strategic pluralism. But when you see that and the red pill exposes that, then you can't go back to that. But they still want to. Black pills are really just purple pillars. They're just more depressed, asocial, psychotic blue pillars who can't see the opportunity that awaits them, the world of opportunity that awaits them in a red pill paradigm. I'm just not going to do anything. Oh, screw women. I want a dog and I want a sex doll and I want whatever. Right. Or I'm going to complain about it and make sure everybody else is miserable just like me because I can't unsee what I just saw. And here it is again. And here it is again. Let me keep beating myself up with all this shit. And you can start a very successful YouTube channel based on just that. But you know what's hard? You know what? You want to know why I only have 70,000 subs on this channel after almost, it'll be 2 years pretty soon. People always say that. Well, how come these guys have like 500,000 subs? Well, first off, they're giving you red meat. They're not giving you any really substance. They're not giving you any like why things are the way they are. That's just like, oh, I can't believe it. Look, another woman who was a whore behaving badly. Great. 80,000 views, 100,000 views. Why did Tommy Lahren and Will Smith, those episodes, why did those go like viral for me? Because it's just like, it's women behaving badly. And it's a celebrity in it, of course, but it's red meat. It's the sizzle. There's no steak. I want to give you the steak. That's why there's only 70,000 people. Thank you, by the way, for pushing me over the 70,000 mark. But people keep saying, well, how come you're not at 100,000 or 500,000 or whatever by now? You're ROLLO-TOMASSI. You got 4 fucking books, man. You are the godfather of the red pill. Good. I hope so. And I hope I get over 100,000. That would be great. I would love to. I want it to be slow. I want it to be natural. I would rather have 70,000 subs of guys who are getting something out of this and that are getting information, that are living better lives, that are changing themselves, that are living in a red pill paradigm, who understand and can benefit and leverage that to live better lives. I would rather have 70,000 of those than a million guys who are just like, oh man, I can't believe she did that to him. Fuck Amber Heard. You know, I don't want that. I want you guys to actually get something out of this and live a better life. You want to get your authority back? That's why there's only 70,000 of you here, not a million. Good. It means I'm doing my job. I just work here. Let's see what else. Oh, so anyway, let me just finish that thought. Isadora. So like the reason why what we call black pillars or doomers or whatever, the reason why they stay stuck in that is they get stuck in the anger phase. There's phases of unplugging, right? Once you become red pill aware, it's like the 5 stages of grief. Okay. So if you know someone's going to die, or you know you're going to die, you go through the 5 stages of grief. It's very similar to that. And the reason why I compare the 5 stages of unplugging from the blue pill and becoming more red pill aware, the reason why I compare those two is because you're technically mourning the death of your old self. You're mourning your blue pill self, because the self, the person, the personality, the character, whatever you were playing, that was built and created according to the blue pill paradigm and what you believed should be true, and you were hoping against hope would be true, that guy's dead. It's killing the beta, right? Most guys never really kill the beta, but by increment, right? You're killing the beta, and that's part of it. And part of that grieving process, or part of that transitioning process, is you got to get to acceptance, right? But you'll go through rage, you'll go through anger, you'll go through you won't disbelief. I think is one of them too. Denial is another one. Lots of people got stuck in denial. Most people get stuck in the anger phase. Because you get angry. Oh, I can't believe I believed what I believed for so long. I'll never have it now. The reason why you're angry, the reason why you're despondent is because I'll never have it now. We're never going to score, right? You're never going to have that idyllic blue pill fantasy, because it was bullshit. But the good news, the great fucking news, is now you're red pill aware and you can live and become somebody different in that red pill paradigm. That is the real definition of MGTOW. Because once you become red pill aware, you cannot help but go your own way and live differently, become something different, reinvent yourself in a red pill paradigm. Oh, no, I want the blue pill. I want this stuff. Oh, I'm going to die. Oh, I'm nihilistic. It's all bullshit. Wah. You want to know why doomers sound like they're freaking crying babies? Because they're crying over the inability to realize, actualize their what they're still invested in, which is their blue pill ideals. That's why. There you go. I can't put it any simpler than that. Heifer. That's a good name. I like that one. You are commenter of the show. I'm in my early 20s and have about $1 million net worth. What the fuck are you doing on my show? And why did you just give me 10 Canadian dollars if you have $1 million net worth? From a trust fund. Oh, a trust fund, baby. Probably a 6 of 10, South Asian Muslim male, and never had sex. For a guy with $1 million net worth, I think we can solve that. Should I just buy sex? LOL. Should I even waste my time trying to get women? Well, I don't know. You tell me. What do you want to do? What problem do you want to solve? And then solve it, because you can probably do that. Are you fat? Are women not interested in you? Are you like asocial? Are you, what are you? Like, what's the problem? I think you know what it is, and you could probably figure it out on your own. You want to get with women. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's your biological impulse. You want to get with them. You want to have sex. I'll tell you what, heifer. If you've got $1 million net worth, you fly your happy ass down here to Reno, Nevada, and I will take you up to Mound House, and we'll go to the ranch, or we'll go to the Mustang Ranch or the Bunny Ranch. You choose. I'll let you choose. And I will guarantee you will not be a virgin when you walk out. Guarantee you, 100%. You are not an incel. Timius Maximus, thanks for everything you do, Rollo. 2020 has been the most pivotal year of my life. Good for you. Glad to hear it. I always want to hear what you guys are building, right? Oh, show me what you built. Show me what you built with my book or whatever. Not even me. Whatever you have learned from the red pill. Show me your work. You know, when you do a math problem, show me how you solve this. I want it. That's it. Show me. Yeah, I solved this math problem, Rollo. Great. Show me your work. The King says, should one purposely ruin a good LTR for the sake of having higher body count? End count. I'm 20 and very red pill aware and think I found a unicorn. No, you didn't. I can 100% guarantee you have not found a unicorn. Should you ruin an LTR for the sake of having a higher body count? Well, I think at some point, I don't know enough about the details. I don't know enough about you. I don't know enough about her. But I will say this, at 20 years old, you have not found a unicorn. And I can tell you this, that you will probably regret not having explored your options, assuming I don't know what your the context of your life is or what's going on with you. But let's just say from past experience and from talking to enough guys in your demographic, I would say that you know, ruining a good LTR, well, you don't have to ruin that. Maybe you spin more plates. Maybe you see where this goes. Give it a few months, like give it a time frame. I would say that you don't need to be monogamous. I certainly don't be monogamous at 20. You're already in it, so now you're committed and you've got your like emotional investment in. But you watch your back. Just protect yourself, protect your ego, protect your soul, protect your emotions, whatever. Because most guys, when they get into that situation, they think they found somebody who's going to be with them. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I would say by and large, you probably do yourself a bigger favor by staying non-exclusive until you get to at least 30. So, Georgi Zimbilev says, I want to know if there's going to be a Slavic translation of my books. Do you want to do a Slavic translation of my books? I have not been asked, nor have I been approached by anyone speaking a Slavic language or the Slavic language. I wouldn't know, but I would not be opposed to it. So hit me up. What are they speaking? Czechoslovakia. Rollo, Lex B says, Rollo, get this info to Harry, Prince Harry. I hope. My door's always open, Prince Harry. Wando says, what did Wando say? Did I miss anybody? Okay. Okay, now I can catch up. Wando says, not kissing and touching is a very Anglo-Nordic thing. In South Latin Europe, it's the standard. I know, I realize that. Meeting friends, meeting someone for the first time, yes, like a kiss on the cheek. Like, and I know in the Netherlands, it's like a kiss on either cheek kind of thing. And it's nice, man. It's cool once you get past the American stupid weirdness of it. Like the people that I know from Schiedam and Rotterdam and Varay. Trying to think of all the places I've been in the Netherlands. I love those people. Maybe they're my people, right? I'm Scandinavian. I guess that's not Dutch, but let's see. And not Italian. Bull Rush. I know that dude. I just bought a really badass straight razor from Bull Rush. And if you don't know, you know what, dude? Bull, you need to, well, actually I already have it. I should just put it up. Next time I do my Wednesday show, I will put a link to your Etsy store. Bull sells some really nice, high quality, like collector's item level quality, custom made, like refurbished, I guess, straight razors. And I've never used, as you can tell, I think I got a cut here. I was using the new one, and the new one's much bigger than the old. I've got two of them now, but the one that I bought, the white one, the nacre one, the mother of pearl one that I got, is much smaller and it's a little more maneuverable, I think, than the larger bloodwood one that I got. I just got to get used to it, I guess. But I've never been a straight razor guy, and now I kind of am, and it's almost like meditative to me now. It's like people say, well, you can just get a razor and shave your You could. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you a man or less of a man, whatever. I don't care. But there's something, I don't know, there's something kind of like ritualistic about using it. And then Bull also, and I think you do this pretty much exclusively. I'm not really sure, but the blades that he uses are usually from like the 1940s, or they're like antique blades that are reconditioned, and then he puts them into new like holder kind of thing, like a little, straight razor kind of goes together like that. And absolutely love them. I need to start looking into getting some good shaving soap or some kind of like something better other than the one I got right now. I got to start looking into other things. I'm going to get a little sharpener too. It's just something I got into. Anyways, Bull's a good dude. Look him up on Twitter. If you follow my feed, you'll find him on there. I've actually posted pictures of my straight razors on there. And again, the reason why I just think they're cool. It's not like, oh, look at me, I'm a straight razor guy. They're just really, really nice pieces. Even if you don't use it, it's kind of just cool to have, I think. Otnick says, Rollo, do you think Megan Fox leaving her longtime marriage for the pop singer MGK is hypergamy at its finest? Megan Fox has the option to do that. And she has a baby too, I think. She's got 1 or 2 babies. Is she doing? Yeah, probably. Because how old is Megan Fox? She's not 40, I know that. Maybe she is. She's got to be late 30s, I think. So she's Megan Fox is in what I have called she's in the development phase right there, like alpha reinterest phase. So in all likelihood, she has gotten to the point where she realizes 40 is coming if she's not already 40. And she wants to, and she knows, and she remembered that she's Megan Fox. And so therefore she's probably trying to, it's fear of missing out, basically, FOMO, right? So I would say that it's most likely, that's usually what prompts women is like, I'm going to age out very soon. And if I don't get my freak flag on, I'm not going to get any later on. So. All of that is in book 2, by the way. Facundo, again, you have been very generous today. How can we form strong friendships with other men? By forming tribes and realizing that you're in tribes. Most guys, when I ask them this, if I do personal counseling, and by the way, now that the book 4 is done and out the door, and I will be pressing publish very soon. I'm not going to tell you when, but within the next 2 weeks. When I'm done, I'll be doing counseling a little bit more actively, I think. So if you're looking for counseling, now's the time to hit me up. I am definitely going to do the group counseling thing through Patreon now that I have the time to do it and follow up on all this stuff. I'm sorry I wasn't able to earlier, but I was really involved in a lot of this stuff for the book, and then my mom died. But the first thing I would tell you is, like, what are your networks? Who do you hang out with? Like, do you think that like guys giving you shit is bullying? That's another way. How do you form strong friendships? Well, first of all, I think you need to realize that you're in a friendship with a guy, because most guys think of their friends not so much as a strong friendship, but like an acquaintance. I have a lot of tribes. The guys that I play, and the one girl that I play in a band with, we're pretty tight now. Because we have an interest and we have an investment in something that we want to see flourish, which is the music. That's what we're all about. But in the course of doing that, we become really good friends. So what is it that you're doing that you're in an environment where you can, like, what are you investing yourself in where you can form strong friendships around that investment? That's the first thing I would ask. And then also wake up and realize what tribes you are already in. Do you have a partner that you work out with? Do you have people at your church? Are you in a band? Do you like to play? Do you have a hobby or a sport or something that you're into? Look in those places first. And if you're not in those things, why not? Stop being a loner. Stop being a loser and start being awesome. It's as simple as that. A hairy butthole. Now we come to the end. You always know we're at the end of the show when you see the hairy butthole. Rollo, random question here, but where does do men getting on their knees when proposing come from? Oh, I can tell you that. It was Was it always like that, or is it just a modern gynocentrism? Congratulations on the new book. Also bounced me out with never gonna score. Okay.
We're never gonna score. We're never gonna score.
There you go. You want to be bounced out. I gotta get more of these so I can bounce you guys out of comments. So let's see. Your question was getting on one knee. That's a basement. Taking a knee is a basement. Simple as that. It's abasing yourself. When you get on your knees in church, what does that mean? You're basing yourself. When you get in the pews, I don't care if you're Catholic or whatever, when you fall to your knees, right? What is kneeling imply? Did you see that? Was it the first Avengers movie, second Avengers movie, right? First Avengers movie, when Loki is there and he makes her kneel before Zod. Why is that? What's that? Well, it's abasing yourself. It's lowering yourself before someone else. So what does that mean when you're kneeling before a woman? Well, it means that you are powerless. It's almost like an ultimatum. If you don't accept this ring, I'm abasing myself. Will you please be my wife? That used to have significance. It used to mean something when men, well, the reason why we think it's weird or it's a modern convention or it's like outdated or something is because men used to have authority. Men used to have power. It was a man's world, right? So when a man who was by default perceived to have a higher status than women, abasing oneself to say, you're the only one for me for the rest of my life, that held way more significance for women back then. Now it's abasement. Now it is like, I'm going to get on my knees and give you this ring. Now it's just sort of this courtly love, romantic ideal that beta men think means something right now. And honestly, I think it almost means something worse. I think that form of getting on, it's so romantic. He got on one knee. I'm not saying romance is like trying to make something romantic is a bad idea, because it can be a good idea. But I think that the way that it's interpreted now is a whole lot different than it used to be back when guys were getting on their knees, like prior to the sexual revolution, maybe back in as far back as, the Renaissance, Europe or whatever, getting on one knee and all that kind of stuff. It's abasement, but abasement only means something if you have status in the first place. It's like, how like old PUAs, and even I've said this before, is you need to treat yourself as if you're the prince, and the prince's time is valuable, and the prince's status is valuable, and the prince's attention is valuable. So if you were a prince, and Prince Harry, if you're listening, this ain't you, but you need to learn from this, is if you are a motherfucking prince, if you are a prince amongst men, and a common woman, you're giving her attention, that woman should be like, oh my God, the prince is actually talking to me. Oh my God, it's Chris Hemsworth. It's Chris Evans. It's this hot guy from the phone cannon party. He's actually paying attention to me. That attention is very, very valuable. And if the guy gets on one knee and the guy, there's different forms of abasement, right? But there's like getting on one knee is one thing. Having an OnlyFans might be another. But it's a form of abasement. And I think that abasement is something that women associate or conflate, let's just say, with beta males today. Whereas before, it was associated with powerful men. Because the prince is on one knee. I'm Cinderella. I'm just this poor little housefrau who put on a magic slipper and mice turned into pumpkins and the pumpkin turned into a chariot and the mice were little coachmen and now that he's before me. Like that, the reason why that's romantic, or the reason why Disney picked up on like Prince Charming and Sleeping Beauty and all that, is because look at the story. She was a commoner, and the prince wants the girl who's the special girl who's really just scrubbing floors. So yeah, when the prince gets on his knee and she's just this poor housefrau, she's this horrible, the good looking blonde, but she's a barista as far as we would think, gets on one knee, it means something. Today it means nothing, but back then it did. So that's why we still have that. Harry Butthole, I definitely won't be getting on my knees anyways. Merry Christmas. You are welcome. Wait, I'll put you up there. Hairy buttholes should never be on their knees. That is it, except for this one. Do you think most, Jim, do you think most people deep down inside actually believe or agree in the ideas of the red pill? It's just social mores. It's just social mores scarers implementation of the red pill. I think when people have a problem with the red pill, there's two reasons that they have a problem with it. As I say, and don't give me any more. I'm done with this one. This is it. No more. Stop. I think that there's a couple of reasons why, particularly guys, I'll speak from the perspective of guys at this point. The red pill challenges ego investments, and the deepest ego investments people can have is when it comes to their spirituality, ethics, morality, the ways that they have been raised to believe should be the right way to do things. That's why I wrote book 4, by the way, because when you combine the blue pill conditioning with religious conviction, that's a really tough nut to crack for most guys. And so they either reject the red pill outright, or they will pick and pull things from the red pill that align with those convictions just to the point where they can still use those, or they think they can use those in a purple pill fashion to achieve their blue pill conditioned ideals, which are also attached to their religious, moral, ethical conditioning. So that's why they have a real tough time with it. That's why you get like schmucks like Pat Stedman and the rest of these dickheads who think that, oh, well, you can be red pill aware and you can push it forward because we're going to take morality and push it into the red pill. No, you're not, because the red pill is not an ideology. It's objective. It's an objective praxeology. And can you use it for good or evil? Sure. It's like fire, right? The red pill is like fire. You can use it to burn your house down, or you can use it to cook your food. You can stay nice and warm in the wintertime, or you can throw fireballs at your enemies, right? You could, it is what it is. So how you use it, it's only good or evil as in how people use it. It's the same thing with the 48 Laws of Power. It's not an evil book, but you are at an extreme disadvantage if you don't know if you don't know enough about it. Doesn't mean you have to use every law in the 48 laws. It just means you have to be aware of them and how they'll be leveraged against you. So that's number one. That's why most guys, they just simply blow it off out of hat, right? They're just like, oh, well, this is red pill. They're just insecure in their masculinity. And even the guys who are not religious, who are very dedicated to this female mind, this sort of feminine imperative blue pill stuff, they're too invested in the idea or the hope that the blue pill has to be right, because it's that they're hanging all their hope on reproduction on the blue pill. Like, oh, no. I reject red pill awareness out of there's no such thing as an alpha male. What is this? Who is this Rollo? I need 10 peer-reviewed studies before I'll believe any of this. That's those guys. And it's a form of denial, but it is also a reliance on the hope, because they're hanging all their hope on reproduction and having a good wife and getting laid and having a good sex life and having a good family life on what the blue pill has told them should be true. And this is how you get it. Because when you are red pill aware and you realize that the blue pill conditioning is bullshit, that shakes up your world, and you have to become someone different. And most guys don't want to become someone different, because if they did, they wouldn't know what to do. You want to know why guys get all black pilled out and everything? It's because they don't know what to do with the red pill. They don't see the prospects. They don't see the opportunities. They don't see the good side. Like, what can I do with this? Like, I can remember like when I was sort of coming into, like, guys always ask me, well, when was your red pill experience? And it was a gradual thing. But I think that once I began to realize that the more I just sort of like disabused myself of blue pill conditioning and I accepted a red pill paradigm, I became more and more aware of the opportunities that exist. And like, now I have accurate information and I can use this to my advantage, and holy shit, it works. And that's part of the 5 stages of unplugging, which is, holy shit, this really works. Do I have to wear the fuzzy hat? Do I have to paint my nails black? No, you don't. But like, it's this disbelief. Well, you want to know where a lot of the hopelessness and nihilism comes in? It's the disbelief that what you denied for so long about the red pill actually works. that game actually works, that PUA actually works, that parts of it. And why does it work? I think the thing that really throws people off is, why is it working? It's more depressing knowing why that works, because it exposes human nature and you go, oh my God, I can't really believe people are really like that. We're supposed to be better than that. In some ways we are, but mostly no, we're definitely not. All these people walking around with face masks on because it makes everybody else feel comfortable. That shows you this is an abject lesson in human nature right now. Go outside and see how many people are just walking down the street, walking their dogs with a mask on. People are miles around. They'll still put a mask on because they think there's something in the air. I don't know. But, well, I was told to wear a mask, so I'm going to do that. A herd mentality. It works. It's depressing when you see it because you want to believe that people are better than that and people have we're smarter than that. We have a capacity for critical thought. We're enlightened beings, right? We should be able to rise above our biology and our psychology because we have consciousness and sentience and free will. And so therefore we're smart. We want to believe in our own reason. And then you walk down the street and you see some, guys wearing mask shaming, I think is what they were talking about yesterday on Rule 0. Yeah, we are. We're that dumb. We're that stupid. We're that exploitable. We're that leverageable. We're that, and that's why we do the bad things that we do sometimes. And sometimes we do the good things we do because idealism and our human nature also leads us to, good acts of kindness, touching old people, touching young people, touching babies, right? Hugging, doing the things that humans do. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, I shouldn't be able to do that. I shouldn't be able to hug babies in the NICU. Maybe my mom didn't love me enough. No. All right, guys, that's enough for today. And so what do you think about having children? I think you should have children. That's what I think. I have a great kid. I have a fantastic kid. I am blessed to have such a wonderful, great daughter, beautiful, loving, good daughter, and having a good nephew and a good niece as well as the other kids that are in my family and extended family. I do not have any drug addicts in my family. I do not have any criminals in my family. I do not have any of that. And my kids are sometimes they get crazy, but they're not. Nobody's in jail. Nobody's drugged out. Nobody's in rehab. So there you have it. I will do a show on Wednesday. That will be coming up. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but if you want to see the cover of book 4, you've got to be a Patreon subscriber. Sam Bada has the book. He's going to do the read for Audible, but the ebook is out for format right now and will be done very soon. I'm not going to tell you when because I don't want to give an exact date because I have a lot of haters who are going to almost instantaneously give me bad reviews because that's all they have fucking time to do is review bomb people. How do I know? Because they've been asking me, when is it going to come out? Give me an exact date. And then you've got guys who go and pick up or they are review bombing. Let's see, Ryan and Rich, and for all I know, probably Aaron Clary too. And is salivating and foaming at the mouth, ready to review bomb my book without, on the first day without never having read it. Unfortunately, that's an inherent flaw in the Amazon sales thing. But anyways, this was not the show I wanted to do today, but I'm glad you guys asked questions. It made for a good, lively discussion. So I will see you guys on Wednesday. If you want to see the book cover, again, you got to be a Patreon subscriber. It's only $5. So if you want to know what that, it's in the description. There's a link in the description. You just go click on that and you can become a subscriber. And I'll be doing some new stuff coming up in the new year. I'm going to give you guys a breakdown on Wednesday of the plans I have for my blog. Counseling is coming up again. Group counseling is coming up. I will be doing, like I said earlier, I'm going to be doing some, already have done some, clip videos. So I'll be launching a clip channel on, YouTube this year. So that's coming. It's going to be called Rational TV or Rational Male TV, something like that. You can come up with a better idea. Let me know. It's already there. I've got at least a dozen clips ready to go already, and we're picking away at it. I got a guy that's really involved, so I got that coming up. I got some other things coming up. I will be doing a live appearance, I think, in January. I'll be doing it in Miami with Myron. Pretty sure. I'll give you dates on that. If not January, probably the beginning of February, but I hope to do it in January. I'll be going on his show I'll be in person. I'll be in studio in Miami later on next month. So that's coming up. And then also Rule Zero Live, we are in the sort of larval stage of planning Rule Zero Live right now. Assuming we can get a spot and assuming Vegas comes back strong, we'll be doing it in Vegas. We're looking at sites and we're looking at dates right now. Again, it all kind of depends on all the craziness that's going on. So we're kind of playing it by ear right now. Also, if you want to listen to my band, the link to Spotify is down there. It's a band called Trial of Ascension. Have a listen there. Tell me what you think. I got more music coming up too. I might even be convinced to play a bit of it as an intro for one or two shows here. But let me know what you think. You can find the link to that in the description. And I will see you guys on Wednesday, same time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. See you later.